In the distant future, the year 21XX, Earth is shown from space, glowing with intense heat and turmoil, signaling a planet in crisis under a dark, starry sky. Amidst the chaos, a fighter jet speeds through a devastated cityscape, its engines blazing, as the MC with white hair clings to its wing, racing toward an urgent goal. The MC, his expression resolute and focused, quietly acknowledges that he has found the person he was searching for, signaling a pivotal moment in his mission. Without hesitation, he leaps off the jet, diving swiftly through the turbulent air with unwavering determination, ready to confront whatever awaits him below. A young man runs desperately through a devastated city, his breath ragged as he pushes forward amid the ruins and swirling smoke, driven by urgency and fear. Clutching a small object tightly, he calls out for help, his voice filled with desperation as he searches for any sign of life. Tears stream down his face as he screams out, pleading for anyone to respond, his emotions raw and vulnerable in the face of overwhelming loss. Suddenly, a monstrous creature with glowing eyes and massive horns crashes down nearby, its terrifying presence shattering the fragile hope the young man clings to, forcing him into immediate danger. The young man gasps in terror as the monstrous creature lunges toward him with ferocious speed, its glowing eyes and sharp teeth signaling imminent danger. He collapses to the ground in fear, helpless as another dark, wolf-like figure appears, intensifying the threat around him, and he weakly pleads for help. Tears streaming down his face, he desperately cries out for anyone to come to his aid, his voice filled with raw panic and hopelessness. Clutching a cracked photo of a happy family, he begs for just anyone to save him, revealing the deep emotional pain and loss driving his desperate plea. The young man is trapped between two monstrous creatures, their glowing eyes and menacing forms closing in on him as a voice condemns those responsible for the world's devastation. As the sun sets behind a snarling beast, a desperate plea echoes, begging for justice and retribution against those who caused this chaos. Suddenly, a brilliant beam of light crashes down, interrupting the threat and signaling the arrival of a powerful figure descending swiftly to the scene. The young man, sweating and overwhelmed, looks up in shock and relief as the newcomer apologizes for arriving late, ready to confront the danger and change the course of events. The young man, overwhelmed and trembling, looks up at the MC who has just arrived, asking with desperate curiosity who he is. The protagonist's expression is calm and serious, his eyes reflecting the weight of the moment as he silently contemplates the devastation around them. The young man, tears streaming down his face, reaches out weakly and finally acknowledges the arrival, expressing a fragile hope that things might change. Against the backdrop of a ruined city under a blood-red sky, the young man voices a hopeful plea that together they can reclaim their shattered world. The injured young man, clutching the MC's coat, weakly expresses his gratitude despite his pain, his voice trembling as he struggles to stand. As he leans heavily on the other, blood staining his side, he utters a solemn farewell, wishing for peace amid the chaos. Tears stream down his face as he sincerely thanks the one who saved him, his expression a mix of relief and lingering despair. Kneeling in the ruins, exhausted and wounded, he continues to offer his thanks, overwhelmed by the presence and support of the imposing figure standing beside him. The MC closes his eyes, a heavy silence enveloping him as he contemplates the weight of recent events. A man known as Kagura, questioning if Jin arrived too late, prompting him to respond with a solemn acknowledgement as he approaches. Kagura explains that the young man was likely the last survivor in the area and urges Jin to accept the harsh truth and give up. Jin listens intently, his expression reflecting the painful reality he must face. The situation changes back to the devastated Earth, where a chilling declaration echoes that humanity is finished, underscoring the dire consequences of the unfolding catastrophe. The monstrous creatures lurking in polluted waters are revealed to be born from relentless environmental contamination, twisted into mutated forms that embody the planet's decay. These beings are identified as corruptors, their presence a direct consequence of humanity's destructive impact, symbolizing the deep corruption spreading through the world. Despite possessing extraordinary regenerative abilities that make them nearly impossible to eliminate, even with nuclear weapons, these monsters continue to wreak havoc, overwhelming soldiers who struggle to contain the threat. Yet, amid this despair, humanity refuses to surrender. Through relentless human experimentation, scientists strive to develop new methods to fight back, holding on to a fragile hope for survival and resistance. Kagura, weary and resigned, questions if there is anyone left to save in this devastated world, his tone heavy with doubt and defeat. Admitting they were late, the MC, standing amidst the ruins, asserts with quiet conviction that despite everything lost, there remains something still worth saving, a glimmer of hope amid the destruction. The two men stand in the desolate city. Kagura skeptically asks if survivors could really still exist, but the other firmly denies it, underscoring the bleak reality they face. the MC looking back over his shoulder, signaling a pivotal moment as he declares that, in the future, change is coming. The focus moves inside a living organism where nanomachines, created with a purpose, are confirmed to heal the environment, hinting at a hopeful solution to the planet's devastation. It is revealed that these nanomachines do more than just halt the corruptors' regeneration. They actively trigger the recovery of the entire planet, suggesting a powerful force for restoration. The nanomachines' glowing presence within a monstrous form emphasizes their dual role. Not only do they prevent the creatures from regenerating, but they also initiate the healing process of the world itself. The MC confidently declares that one day, the planet will regain its former beauty, signaling a hopeful future despite the current devastation. He emphasizes that at that time, a new era will begin. The MC envisions a civilization thriving once again, just as humanity once did, expressing a belief in renewal and the resilience of life. Kagura responds skeptically, dismissing this vision as nothing more than a fairy tale, reflecting doubt and the harsh reality they face. Unfazed by the skepticism, the MC calmly accepts the criticism and continues forward, embodying unwavering hope and determination to see the planet restored. The MC calmly admits that even a tiny possibility is enough to hold on to, expressing a quiet but firm hope that fuels their resolve despite the overwhelming devastation around them. In a cold, empty corridor, the thought lingers that his power might be crucial in the future, hinting at a hidden strength or ability that could change the course of events yet to come. Kagura stands before a figure suspended in a tank, contemplating that this power might indeed be needed later, suggesting preparations or experiments underway to harness this potential for what lies ahead. The man reflects on the idea that simply believing in perhaps the faintest chance could be enough to save the future, reinforcing the theme that hope, no matter how small, is a vital force in the struggle to restore and protect what remains. Kagura reflects that simply passing on even the smallest chance is enough to keep hope alive, his calm determination underscored by the mysterious figure suspended in the glowing tank behind him. Suddenly, the process of cold sleep is initiated, signaling the start of a long, suspended state meant to preserve life or power for the uncertain future. A sequence of images tracks the passage of time and the ongoing devastation. Monstrous creatures roam the barren, ruined earth. As time passed, the earth gradually healing, its vibrant colors returning, symbolizing the slow but steady recovery of the planet and the promise of renewal after the long struggle. The relentless spread of monstrous creatures continues to ravage the land, reaching 50,000 years. As time passes, the creatures weaken and die off, the environment slowly beginning to recover, with the counter reflecting the dwindling threat and the gradual return of natural beauty along the shore. The healing of the planet becomes more evident as vibrant life returns, with animals thriving and the landscape flourishing, signaling a hopeful reversal of the destruction once wrought by the monstrous invaders. Earth is seen glowing with renewed vitality, representing the planet's restoration and the promise of a new era where life can flourish once again after the long struggle against devastation. 100 million years have passed since the devastation began, marking a long stretch of time that has tested endurance and hope. A critical moment arrives as the system confirms access authorization and initiates the cold sleep release sequence, signaling the awakening of a preserved power or life form. A young girl runs urgently, breath heavy and determined, pushing forward with a sense of desperation and resolve. Suddenly, a terrifying monstrous creature with glowing red eyes lunges at the group, forcing the girl and two companions to flee in fear and urgency, highlighting the constant danger they face. The girl, breathless and determined, insists that the guardian god is truly present in this dangerous place, despite the disbelief of a companion who questions the reality of their situation. The urgency intensifies as the girl warns that if the guardian god isn't here, their fate is sealed. But then a terrifying presence with glowing red eyes emerges, confirming the arrival of the guardian god. Gripping a pendant tightly, the girls steels themselves, preparing for the imminent confrontation and the heavy responsibility that comes with the guardian god's presence. Their eyes sharpen with resolve as they acknowledge the arrival of the guardian god, the pivotal force whose presence could change everything in their desperate struggle. The girl and her companions stand before a sealed door, her conviction unwavering as she declares that the guardian god is surely present here, their hope pinned on this pivotal moment. Suddenly, the door bursts open, startling the group as they brace themselves for whatever lies beyond, the tension and danger palpable in their reactions. They quickly realize the path ahead is blocked by a massive grate, confirming their worst fear that this is a dead end, forcing them to reconsider their desperate situation. The girl falls silent, her expression heavy with the weight of their predicament, the uncertainty and fear settling in as they face the grim reality before them. A terrifying monstrous creature with glowing red eyes lunges toward the group, causing panic and fear as one of them desperately asks what they should do. The girl pleads for help, her voice trembling as the shadow of the creature looms over her companions, who crouch in fear. Overwhelmed with emotion and tears streaming down her face, the girl cries out for the guardian god to come to their aid, her desperation clear. A crack appears in a barrier or glass, signaling a response to her plea, followed by a calm acknowledgement that the call for help has been understood. As the barrier shatters, a radiant beam of light pierces through the darkness, revealing the girl and her companions standing in awe and fear. Their expressions a mix of shock and hope as the guardian god's presence becomes undeniable. The beam continues to glow intensely, and the girl, still trembling, hears a calm voice affirming that her faith was not misplaced, reinforcing the belief that their desperate hope was justified. Bare feet step forward through the broken glass, accompanied by a powerful, resonant sound, signaling the physical arrival of the guardian god, whose presence promises a turning point in their dire situation. Emerging from the shattered containment, a muscular man with glowing blue eyes and an aura of immense power smiles confidently, holding a swirling orb of energy, as he speaks of the endless possibilities that the future holds, embodying the hope and strength they desperately need. The storage box Kagura developed functions as expected, preserving the MC's clothes exactly as they were back then, a tangible link to his past. He contemplates the world he now faces, a reality set 100 million years into the future, confronting the vast unknown that stretches before him. Despite most of the data being corrupted, he finds it remarkable that this place has been preserved at all, highlighting the fragility and resilience of his environment. The preservation is credited to nanomachines dispersed in the atmosphere, with a nanomachine injector nearby symbolizing the advanced technology that has maintained this fragile state through the ages. The MC reflects on his desire to understand what has happened to the world, realizing that the only clue he can trust is a message cube left behind by Kagura. Before delving deeper, he decides to share his story, though he awkwardly covers his nudity, apologizing to his companions for being unclothed after 100 million years. His companions react with surprise and confusion at his nakedness, highlighting the absurdity of his long isolation. Now dressed, he feels more himself and confident, affirming that this outfit suits him as he prepares to reveal the story behind his long slumber and the world he has awakened to. The massive vault door slowly opens with a deep, ominous rumble, signaling the release of something long sealed away and setting the stage for what lies beyond. Shielding their eyes from the sudden bright light, the MC and his companions brace themselves, their expressions a mix of awe and determination as they face the unknown. The MC, captivated by the overwhelming brightness, begins to piece together the reality before him, realizing this moment marks a profound revelation about the world he now inhabits. Standing atop a hill, he gazes out over a vast, winding river and lush landscape, contemplating the world as it exists 100 million years later, fully aware that his journey to understand this new era is just beginning. The young girl clings to the tall man with glowing blue eyes, her gaze filled with awe as she quietly acknowledges that he is the guardian god, a presence completely different from anything they had known before. She urgently calls out for her companions to follow her, pointing the way forward through the lush forest path, determined to lead them safely onward. The guardian god narrows his eyes, his expression sharp and focused as he contemplates the strange new world around him, sensing something unfamiliar yet significant. The girl reflects on the startling discovery of beings resembling humans, though she knows humanity should have been extinct for 100 million years, wondering if these are creatures that evolved over that vast time, as her companions, a koala-like and a cat-like figure, look on with curiosity and surprise. The young girl considers the strange beings they encountered, concluding that they have most likely been affected by nanomachines, which explains their unusual traits and survival over such an immense span of time. The MC reflects on the fact that the language from 100 million years ago still functions, seeing it as strong evidence of the nanomachine's influence, and then realizes he hasn't introduced himself yet. He formally introduces himself as Shido Jean, asking to be called Jean, while the young girl introduces herself as Hakama Phil, preferring just Hakama, establishing their identities as they prepare to move forward together. The koala-like and cat-like companions join the introductions, with the koala-like figure cheerfully naming himself Danpu and the cat-like one nervously adding that he is Shandy, completing the group's introductions and strengthening their bond as they face the unknown future. Hakama reveals their urgent mission to Shido Jean, explaining that they need him to defeat the corruptors, a threat that endangers their world. Jean, still processing this, questions what exactly the corruptors are. Danpu reacts with shock and fear upon hearing the mention of the corruptors, clearly unsettled by the gravity of the situation. The group races forward, with a determined man gripping Jin's arm, urging him to keep moving as they near their destination. Jin asks what he is supposed to do, and the man insists they are almost there, emphasizing the urgency. As they arrive, the group is horrified to see the village engulfed in flames and smoke, rising into the sky, signaling a devastating attack that confirms the danger they face is immediate and severe. The group arrives at the village, horrified to see wooden barricades and buildings engulfed in flames, evidence of a brutal attack that has left the settlement in ruins. Shido-jin remains silent, his expression serious and contemplative as he processes the devastation before them. Two young figures sprint desperately through the burning village, calling out frantically for their parents, their fear and urgency palpable as they try to reach their family. The young boy runs ahead with the girl close behind, both overwhelmed by the chaos and destruction surrounding them, their cries echoing as they plead for their loved ones to hold on. The man surveys the burning village, noting that the civilization here doesn't appear very advanced despite the devastation. Two children run desperately through the flames, their cries for their parents echoing as they try to escape the chaos. The young girl Hakama suddenly reacts with shock and fear, her wide eyes reflecting the horror of the scene, while the tall man beside her remains calm but alert, sensing the danger closing in. A fierce battle erupts as an older woman, revealed to be the children's grandmother, fights desperately against a monstrous creature, wielding a staff to fend off its vicious attack. The children scream out her name, their desperation fueling the intensity of the moment. The grandmother struggles under the creature's assault, urgently questioning why Hakama has returned, implying her return has serious consequences and adding a layer of mystery and tension to the unfolding conflict. The protagonist narrows his eyes, questioning if the figure before him is truly the corruptor, a dangerous entity they have been warned about. Observing the fierce battle between the elderly woman and the monstrous creature, he notes that the attacker looks exactly like a corruptor, wondering if these beings are still called corruptors in this era. As the fight intensifies, the young girl Hakama refuses to flee despite urgent warnings, her determination burning as she vows to save those in danger, surprising the man beside her with her resolve. The MC moves swiftly toward the confrontation, intent on confirming the identity of the corruptor and assessing the threat firsthand as the battle rages on between the grandmother and the monstrous foe. As the monstrous creature lunges forward, the MC strikes it with a powerful blow, halting its attack and demonstrating his combat prowess. The older woman watches in shock, clearly relieved by the intervention. Our boy swiftly carries the elderly woman to safety, politely excusing himself as he takes control of the situation, his focus sharp and determined. The young girl Hakama channels her energy into a glowing sphere, preparing to unleash a powerful attack against the creature, encouraged by the man who urges her to act decisively. Hakama releases a blazing magical attack, her expression fierce and resolute as she confronts the threat head-on, signaling her commitment to protect those in danger despite the overwhelming odds. The MC analyzes the situation, questioning if the nanomachines in the atmosphere were used, noting that these should only be controllable by compatible humans. He observes that the corruptor cells show no signs of regeneration, confirming the nanomachines are suppressing its ability to heal. The injured corruptor lies on the ground, emitting smoke as the man supports the elderly woman nearby, while two children rush toward the scene, emphasizing the urgency and danger still present. The MC launches a powerful energy attack directly at the monstrous creature, intercepting its fiery breath and halting its assault with precision and strength. The corruptor is struck by the attack, causing a massive explosion that disrupts its form, demonstrating the effectiveness of the assault and the critical moment in the battle. The MC questions whether everyone in this era can perform the powerful fireball attack, prompting the elderly woman to clarify that only a select few possess such abilities. He learns that those with divine power are rare, with only 4 individuals in the village, including the woman herself, able to control nanomachines through this divine power. The young girl urgently asks the grandmother about the fate of the other villagers, to which the grandmother responds that she has already evacuated them, ensuring their safety. The older man gently supports the exhausted young boy while asking the grandmother the more pressing question of why she returned, hinting at a deeper significance behind her unexpected arrival. The elderly woman solemnly admits that the village has already been destroyed beyond recovery. She reveals that the corruptor they faced earlier was merely a newborn larva, far less threatening than the main entity. The narration warns that the main body of the corruptor is now beyond their ability to confront. It is only a matter of time before the larval corruptors multiply and overwhelm the village in overwhelming numbers. The young girl Hakama calls out to her father, who expresses relief and concern upon seeing her, explaining he was worried because she wasn't in the shelter where the villagers were sent for safety. Hakama asks about the villagers, and the man reassures her that he has already sent them to the shelter, ensuring their protection from the ongoing threat. A determined young warrior named Sarla steps forward, declaring his intent to personally kill the corruptor, showing his confidence and resolve to protect the village from the monstrous menace. An older woman, still holding her staff, is warned not to falter, while the children and Danpu watch the exchange, underscoring the tension and the collective effort to face the danger ahead. The elderly woman reacts with shock and concern as Hakama admits she went to the sealed door, a forbidden place that alarms the older generation. Hakama nervously explains that her grandmother once told her the sealed door hides the guardian god of the village, a protector meant to aid them in times of great danger. The elderly woman, sweating and troubled, questions if the man standing nearby could be that guardian god, clearly doubting his divine nature. The MC appears puzzled by the suspicion, internally noting that he doesn't look like a god at all, leaving the question of his true identity open. The MC with blue hair and animal ears confronts the MC, accusing him of being an inferior species without animal power, pointing directly at his ears as proof. The MC reacts with disbelief and questions the insult, asking if he is really considered inferior. The blue-haired youth confidently insists that the MC is the guardian god, surprising the older man who had been wondering where the youth had gone, noting he was with Hakama. The MC dismisses the claim, sarcastically laughing off the idea that the blue-haired youth could be the guardian god, clearly skeptical of the youth's divine status. The blue-haired youth, unfazed, laughs and warns the older man not to joke with him, maintaining his confident and teasing demeanor as the older man remains silent, caught off guard. Danpo laughs off the claim that the MC is the guardian god, insisting the man was only present by coincidence and not truly divine. The MC listens silently, his expression unreadable. He confidently boasts that he can kill a larval corruptor with a single blow, mocking the threat as something he can easily handle. The young girl looks up at him, skeptical but attentive. The MC suddenly demands attention, his serious tone cutting through the banter as he prepares to address the situation with gravity. Danpo sharply declares that the village's problems are theirs alone to solve, explicitly rejecting any help from outsiders he deems inferior species, making it clear that unwelcome forces will not be tolerated. Sarlis boldly declares his plan to kill the huge corruptor, showing his determination to face the threat head-on while dismissing others as fearful and helpless. When questioned about his destination, he confidently confirms his intent to confront the monstrous enemy directly. The MC coldly warns Sarlis not to interfere, signaling a tense divide between those willing to act recklessly and those who prefer caution. The elderly woman angrily calls Sarlis a fool, lamenting that fleeing might have been wiser to ensure his survival, highlighting the danger and desperation surrounding their situation. The MC remains silent, his expression unreadable as he contemplates the tense situation. The elderly woman, showing a mix of respect and urgency, thanks him for his earlier help and asks if he would be willing to escort her son and the children to the shelter for safety. The young girl, Hakama, nervously declares that she will follow the determined warrior Sarlis and risk her life alongside him, prompting her grandmother to call out to her in alarm. The MC firmly refuses the elderly woman's request, surprising her as he turns away, signaling his decision to not get involved in escorting the children. The MC firmly declares that he won't tolerate anyone insulting him as an inferior species, warning that such disrespect will lead to death. His confident stance and sharp gaze intimidate the villagers behind him, who watch with mixed expressions of surprise and concern. Meanwhile, the young girl with animal ears brightens with a sincere smile, expressing that she too has her own pride, showing her resolve and inner strength despite the tense atmosphere. A massive corruptor monster rises ominously from the water, its glowing eyes and armored body signaling a terrifying threat to the land. The creature's roar echoes across the area, announcing its presence with overwhelming menace. The monster begins to move forward, its muscular torso emerging from the water as it advances, causing ripples and disturbance in its wake. Its sheer size and power become even more apparent as it prepares to confront any challengers. A determined figure steps into view, his clenched fist and resolute stance showing readiness to face the beast. He calls out directly to the monster, signaling his intent to engage and not back down from the looming danger. The man, charged with crackling blue energy, declares his purpose with fierce conviction. He will carry the country on his back and become a holy knight. His electrified aura and unwavering gaze emphasize his commitment to protect and fight for his people. The towering corruptor looms menacingly as the warrior charges forward, crackling with electric energy, declaring that an invader like this must be confronted head-on. With fierce determination, he leaps into battle, shouting that he will take down the monstrous threat himself, launching a powerful attack against the creature. Meanwhile, smaller, worm-like invaders begin to emerge, their dripping, grotesque forms slithering ominously as they prepare to swarm the area. These smaller invaders detach and fall rapidly toward the ground, signaling an imminent and overwhelming assault that adds to the danger of the battle. The warrior, crackling with electric energy, faces a towering corruptor as smaller, aggressive creatures leap toward him, preparing to overwhelm him with a fierce assault. With a fierce shout, he slashes through the smaller monsters, commanding them to get out of his way as he clears a path forward. The massive corruptor snarls defiantly, vowing to end the fight with a single blow, while the warrior steadies his electric spear, readying for the decisive clash. Launching himself at the beast with incredible speed, the warrior charges in, shouting take, as he aims to strike the corruptor with a powerful, electrified attack. The warrior channels a surge of electric energy into his spear, shouting a fierce battle cry as he drives the electrified weapon into the monstrous corruptor with overwhelming force. Blood stains his determined face, but he grins defiantly, fueled by adrenaline and the will to protect, refusing to back down despite the injury. The corruptor roars in pain and rage, its massive jaws snapping shut as it tries to resist the warrior's relentless assault, while the warrior swiftly maneuvers through the water, spear poised for another strike. The spear pierces deep into the corruptor's glowing eye, causing it to bleed and weaken, signaling a critical blow that could turn the tide of the battle in the warrior's favor. Danpo notices with alarm that the corruptor's wounds are regenerating, realizing the battle will be far more difficult than expected. As the corruptor's massive claw swings down, Danpo braces himself, narrowly avoiding the devastating attack. He quickly recovers, wiping sweat from his brow, confused and frustrated by the creature's relentless resilience. Meanwhile, Shido Jin steps forward, activating a glowing hexagonal barrier with a calm but commanding presence, taunting the corruptor by asking if it feels better now, signaling his intent to counter the regeneration with his own power. Danpo gasps in shock, unable to fully believe what he is witnessing, his voice trembling as he stammers in disbelief. RMC stands confidently as the corruptor lunges aggressively toward Danpo, who braces himself for the attack, both caught in a tense moment of imminent danger. The man calmly questions how the monstrous creature could still be alive, his tone laced with surprise and concern as he assesses the situation. With a sudden, deliberate snap of his fingers, the man prepares to take decisive action, signaling that he is about to confront the persistent threat head-on. RMC unleashes a powerful energy blast, striking the monstrous corruptor with overwhelming force and sending it reeling backward. His calm yet commanding posture shows his confidence in controlling the battle's momentum. Danpo, shocked and alarmed, shouts in disbelief as he witnesses the unexpected turn of events, desperately calling out to the corruptor to hurry and regroup. The young warrior, sensing urgency, calls out loudly for Salse, rallying the group to move quickly as the threat intensifies. The others respond immediately, sprinting forward with determination to support their leader. Two villagers, wide-eyed and breathless, exchange a look of shock and fear, realizing the danger has escalated beyond their expectations as the battle's stakes become clearer. An older woman looks on in shock and confusion, struggling to comprehend the sudden and overwhelming turn of events unfolding before her. She questions what just happened, clearly unsettled by the chaos. The monstrous corruptor towers over the two men standing in the water, its massive, grotesque form looming ominously as it prepares to strike with one hand, emphasizing the terrifying scale and power of the threat they face. RMC senses the increasing difficulty of the battle, noting that the corruptor is starting to feel heavy, signaling its weakening state. His companion, Danpo, reacts with surprise as the man suggests they retreat for now to regroup. RMC swiftly grabs Danpo, pulling him away from danger as they make a quick escape, prioritizing survival and strategic withdrawal in the face of the overwhelming enemy. RMC questions the true nature of the monstrous creatures, revealing that even when damaged, they regenerate instantly, making them nearly impossible to defeat. Suddenly, our boy grabs Danpo and leaps away just as a massive creature lunges violently, narrowly missing them both. As they land safely, Danpo looks up anxiously, still gripping his weapon, while the man remains calm and composed, preparing for what comes next. The monstrous creature crashes into the water with tremendous force, emphasizing the overwhelming threat they face and the urgency of their situation. Our MC acknowledges the recent attack was effective but notes the wound wasn't deep enough to halt the corruptor's regeneration, emphasizing the creature's resilience. Danpo, confused and anxious, questions the meaning of nanomachines, prompting the man to explain that what they call divine power is actually nanomachines that inhibit regeneration. The man clarifies that nanomachines are essential to stop the creatures from healing instantly, revealing a scientific truth behind the mystical appearance of their power. Danpo, overwhelmed and doubtful, asks if the man is truly their guardian god, to which the man responds honestly that he doesn't remember ever becoming a god, casting uncertainty on his identity and role. RMC, standing firmly in the muddy water, declares that despite everything, there is something important he needs to say. Behind him, Danpo kneels, catching his breath, both surrounded by the ominous, stormy sky. The man questions the assumption that the crisis belongs solely to the village, prompting a hesitant confirmation from Danpo, revealing tension about responsibility and ownership of the problem. Danpo, with fierce determination and clenched fist, vehemently rejects the idea that the issue is only the village's, insisting that this belief is wrong and implying a deeper personal stake. Turning back toward the monstrous corruptor emerging from the water, the man asserts with conviction that this threat is not just the village's problem. It is his problem, signaling a personal commitment to confront the danger head-on. The monstrous corruptor roars fiercely, its glowing eyes and sharp teeth revealing its terrifying power as it swings a massive tail, signaling an imminent and deadly attack. RMC swiftly dodges the sweeping tail, his focused expression showing his readiness to counter the overwhelming threat despite the chaotic battlefield. With steely determination, he resolves to immobilize the creature first, understanding that controlling its movement is crucial to gaining the upper hand in this dangerous fight. Acting on his plan, he snaps his fingers, unleashing a precise burst of energy that strikes the ground, aiming to halt the corruptor's advance and seize control of the battle's momentum. The monstrous corruptor lashes out fiercely, its massive tail smashing into the ground with explosive force, demonstrating its overwhelming power and relentless aggression. Danpo, panting and alarmed, reflects bitterly that these monsters exist because of their own foolish mistakes, revealing a painful awareness of human error leading to this crisis. A clenched fist crackles with electric energy, signaling a surge of power and determination as our MC prepares to take decisive action against the threat. Our MC stands resolute, electricity sparking around him as he declares his long existence of 100 million years, implying deep experience and a personal stake in confronting the monstrous menace. The protagonist declares with unwavering resolve that he is the one who must settle the conflict, channeling a powerful surge of energy that crackles around him as he prepares to take decisive action. Danpo, kneeling intense, voices his doubts and confusion, questioning whether the man can truly accomplish what he claims. But the man confidently affirms his ability without hesitation. A somber reflection unfolds, showing scenes of countless battles and wars throughout history, emphasizing the relentless and tragic nature of humanity's repeated conflicts and suffering. The narrative continues with images of modern soldiers in combat, highlighting the brutal and tragic reality of human warfare, underscoring the heavy cost of these endless cycles of violence. The MC reflects on humanity's violent past, describing it as a blood-stained history marked by endless conflict and suffering, while a laboratory scene hints at scientific attempts to control or understand this chaos. He reveals himself as the last human ever created, carrying the weight of this legacy. Suddenly, he unleashes a powerful energy attack, channeling his immense strength to confront the monstrous threat before him, signaling his readiness to fight with overwhelming force. The monstrous corruptor reacts with shock and surprise as the attack hits, its wide-open mouth and flailing tongue showing its vulnerability for the first time in the battle. The protagonist's energy blast strikes with devastating impact, obliterating part of the creature and demonstrating his determination to end the conflict decisively and protect what remains. A massive energy blast erupts from our MC, sending a powerful shockwave that crashes down with overwhelming force, stunning everyone watching and signaling a decisive moment in the battle. The villagers, including Danpo and others, watch in awe and fear as the energy surge intensifies, their expressions filled with shock and hope, realizing the scale of power being unleashed to protect them. Among the onlookers, a young villager's face lights up with admiration and relief, her hands clasped to her chest as she feels a renewed sense of hope and belief in their protector's strength. The energy beam extends far beyond the battlefield, piercing through the atmosphere and striking the earth with cosmic intensity, emphasizing the immense power the man wields and the critical impact of his intervention. A mysterious green energy seeps from a broken stone slab floating on the water, releasing a faint mist that hints at a lingering power or curse tied to this place. Danpo reacts with shock and concern, sweat dripping down his face as he realizes the gravity of the situation unfolding before him. Our MC claps his hands confidently, turning to face Danpo and declaring that he is the last scientific weapon, implying he is a product of advanced experimentation designed for a critical purpose. With a confident smile, our MC swiftly moves forward, effortlessly pulling Danpo along, signaling that he is ready to take control and fulfill the role he was created for despite the danger. Our MC quietly observes the calm lake, sensing movement nearby as subtle sounds ripple through the water's surface, signaling something approaching or stirring beneath. Hidden behind foliage, a figure with glasses reveals their purpose. They have come to investigate the new invaders threatening Kodama village, indicating a serious concern about the escalating danger. The observer struggles to process what they have just witnessed, admitting it was unbelievable and beyond their expectations, hinting at an extraordinary event or power that defies normal understanding. They question the nature of the incident, noting that even the Holy Knight Captain of the royal capital would be unable to handle such a situation, emphasizing the overwhelming and unprecedented threat now unfolding. Hidden behind the bushes, a figure with glasses is stunned, struggling to comprehend the extraordinary event they just witnessed. Realizing it is beyond anything they expected, they urge themselves to do something similar, their eyes shining with determination as they begin to grasp the gravity of the situation. The figure, now fully visible and energized, clenches their fist with resolve, declaring the urgent need to return to the royal capital immediately, signaling the critical importance of reporting or responding to the unprecedented threat unfolding. A voice calls out to Jean, asking if he can hear it, implying a message meant specifically for him. The speaker acknowledges that if Jean is listening, it likely means the speaker is no longer present in this world, hinting at their possible death or disappearance. The speaker admits with a hint of satisfaction that they've always wanted to say those words, showing a personal connection and a sense of closure or finality in this communication. The message shifts to a hopeful inquiry about the future, asking how it is and suggesting expectations for positive change. The speaker expresses optimism that the global environment should have improved significantly, indicating a hope for a better world ahead despite past hardships. The MC reveals a critical issue. Despite improvements in the world's environment, the corruptors are unlikely to disappear completely, signaling an ongoing threat that cannot be ignored. He cuts straight to the heart of the matter, emphasizing that even with positive changes, the danger posed by the corruptors remains persistent and unresolved. Our MC falls silent, his expression serious and contemplative, reflecting the weight of this grim reality and the challenges ahead. Meanwhile, a scientist working late at a computer recalls sensing something wrong about 1,000 years after the MC entered cold sleep, hinting at a long-term awareness of the looming threat and the urgency to address it. Despite the steady decrease in corruptors thanks to environmental improvements, a satellite scans the Earth, focusing on a troubling hotspot that signals ongoing danger. The satellite zooms in on a specific area where the threat remains unresolved, highlighting that the corruptors have not been eradicated entirely. On the ground, a menacing corruptor stands beside a fallen creature, confirming the persistent presence of these dark forces despite the overall decline. Meanwhile, a concerned scientist reflects on his periodic cold sleep cycles designed to monitor the world's changes, troubled by the current situation and the unresolved threat that continues to loom. A powerful, evolved corruptor with glowing red eyes and dark, shadowy tendrils radiates menace, clearly marked as a significant new threat emerging from the shadows. A scientist, alarmed and tense, monitors data on a screen, realizing that alongside environmental improvements, new, evolving corruptors have begun to appear, signaling a dangerous shift. The scientist contemplates the unknown changes these evolved corruptors will bring, but is certain they will become a serious threat that cannot be ignored. Shido Jin, Dan Po, and another ally focus their energy to enhance newly born lifeforms, striving to empower them just enough to resist and fight back against the growing menace of the corruptors. Kagura, surrounded by floating digital data, instructs to leave some power behind for the recipient, implying a transfer of energy or ability that will aid them. The MC, holding a glowing cube, questions the meaning of this power, showing curiosity and a need to understand the mysterious gift. He reveals a syringe filled with a glowing substance, asking if this is the power being referred to, indicating he is about to accept or test the transfer. As he injects the glowing liquid into his arm, he explains that the nanomachines inside will teach him how to use the power, signaling the beginning of a transformation or empowerment process. The MC realizes that through bodily modifications, he can access a unique power that only he can use because he is fully compatible with the nanomachines inside him. Electric energy crackles around him as he contemplates this exclusive ability. He silently examines his hands, processing the newfound sensation and the implications of this power coursing through him, reflecting on the gravity of what he has just gained. Suddenly, a glowing knife materializes in his palm, formed by the shape-shifting capabilities of the nanomachines, revealing his ability to generate objects at will. Holding the knife, he acknowledges how useful this power is, impressed by the ability to create tools instantly through the nanomachines transformation, understanding this will be a significant advantage moving forward. The man explains that he concealed power-ups in research labs scattered worldwide, deliberately distributing them rather than keeping them all in one place. He reveals the reason for this was to prevent all the power-ups from being destroyed at once by the corruptors or other threats. He confesses that he wanted the other person to travel and see the world, implying a deeper purpose behind their journey. As the group rides past a waterfall, the man admits uncertainty about the future threat the corruptors might pose, highlighting the unpredictable danger that still looms ahead. The MC, clad in ornate armor and riding a horse, reflects quietly on the situation, acknowledging that despite improvements, the threat still lingers. A figure runs swiftly through the forest, contemplating how the world now is far better compared to the past. A young woman in a red uniform, panting but smiling brightly, affirms that conditions have improved significantly, showing hope and relief. Meanwhile, a blonde woman sits calmly in a grand library, absorbed in her studies, symbolizing ongoing efforts to understand and prepare for future challenges. Kagura begins by encouraging others to embrace the new world they are entering, signaling a hopeful yet cautious transition. An older version of him appears, admitting his limitations but urging perseverance to see the mission through to the end, emphasizing the importance of commitment despite uncertainty. Kagura smiles warmly, reinforcing his belief in the necessity of enduring until the conclusion, showing a mix of resolve and gentle encouragement. Meanwhile, a silver-haired man listens intently, processing the weight of these words and the responsibility now resting on him as he prepares to face the challenges ahead. A holographic figure of Kagura appears, entrusting the future of the world to Shido Jin, emphasizing the heavy responsibility now resting on his shoulders. Jin solemnly acknowledges this charge, silently accepting the weight of the mission as he holds the glowing cube, symbolizing the power and hope he must protect. Danpu and the young woman rush toward Jin, calling out to him with excitement and relief, eager to reunite and ready to move forward together. Jin urges them to hurry back, reminding them that their journey cannot truly begin without him, reinforcing his role as the pivotal figure in their shared quest. The MC looks intently, his expression serious as he focuses on something important. The young woman, holding a shining key-shaped pendant, realizes it might be a lab access key, sparking curiosity and significance. The man asks where she got the pendant, prompting her to respond with a mix of pride and surprise as she shows it to him. She explains that long ago, a great person entrusted the pendant to her clan, revealing it as a cherished charm passed down through generations, symbolizing legacy and trust. The MC explains that the pendant is said to summon the guardian deity to protect the village whenever danger approaches, revealing the pendant's crucial role in their safety. He reflects quietly, understanding now how someone was able to gain access to the village using this charm. Looking up at the starry sky, he acknowledges the debt he owes to those who entrusted the pendant and its protection, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and responsibility. Danpu and the young woman eagerly hold his hands, showing their trust and readiness to move forward together. The village gathers around a large bonfire at night, celebrating and enjoying a peaceful moment of camaraderie and warmth, symbolizing the community's unity and hope despite the looming threats. Suddenly, a call for urgency breaks the calm as someone shouts for others to hurry over, signaling that something important demands immediate attention, disrupting the peaceful night. As the villagers gather around the bonfire, whispers spread about the legendary guardian deity, sparked by the sight of the MC holding the pendant said to summon this protector in times of danger. The MC reacts with disbelief and unease, struggling to accept that despite the tales, the guardian deity might be real, yet he doubts its strength compared to his own kind. Nearby, villagers laugh skeptically, mocking the idea that a scrawny outsider could have defeated such a powerful entity, their doubt highlighting the tension between belief and reality. Suddenly, a loud, ominous noise breaks the night's calm, drawing everyone's attention and signaling that something urgent and possibly dangerous is approaching, shattering the moment of peace. A man with animal ears angrily scolds others for running away and missing what happened, while a younger figure nearby apologizes and checks if everyone is okay after a chaotic event. The MC, along with Danpu and the young woman, comments on how the villagers' attitudes have completely changed since the afternoon, marveling at how amazing the guardian deity truly is. The MC turns to face an approaching elder, acknowledging her presence as she arrives with a respectful greeting, signaling an important moment of recognition. The elder woman expresses deep gratitude on behalf of the entire village, formally thanking the group for their efforts and protection, reinforcing the strong bond between them and the community. A man and an older woman express their deep gratitude, acknowledging that without the group's help, their village would have been destroyed, and they want to repay this debt in some way. Jin smiles reassuringly, telling them not to worry about repayment, showing his confidence and willingness to help without expecting anything in return. Jin then clarifies that if they insist on repaying, he prefers information over goods, signaling his need for knowledge to better understand the situation. The man, surprised but attentive, asks for clarification about the information Jin wants, prompting Jin to explain that he seeks detailed knowledge about the current state of their world, emphasizing the importance of understanding their environment for the challenges ahead. The elder advises that the best course of action is to head to the royal capital, prompting a surprised question about this destination. She explains that the royal capital, Kermosia, is where the king rules and where many people from across the country gather, making it a hub of information about the world state. She adds that the villagers frequently travel there to sell their specialty goods, made from with silkworm thread, highlighting their connection to the capital despite their remote location. Acknowledging the journey's difficulty, she reassures that the guardian deity will provide protection, though she admits uncertainty about the exact location of the royal capital. The elder instructs them to use Hakama as their guide, explaining that this child has important business in the royal capital, hinting at a deeper connection and purpose beyond the village. It is revealed that the child can wield divine power, and in the royal capital, there is an academy dedicated to enhancing such power, emphasizing the significance of the child's abilities and the importance of their journey ahead. The peaceful morning unfolds over a quaint village nestled between lush mountains, with birds soaring freely above and a gentle river winding through the landscape, setting a serene and hopeful tone. Jin greets the day with a calm smile, appreciating the fresh air and the tranquility that surrounds him, signaling a rare moment of peace. From a wooden balcony overlooking a vast green field and distant mountains, Jin reflects on the beauty before him, marveling that such a sight is now within his reach, hinting at a significant change in his life. Shielding his eyes from the sunlight, Jin expresses a wistful longing that he wishes to have shared this serene moment with Kagura, revealing a deep emotional connection and a sense of loss as a younger figure stands quietly behind him. The young boy, holding a neat stack of folded clothes, quietly utters the words guardian deity, hinting at a significant role or identity tied to these garments. A tall, muscular man stands with his back to the boy, overlooking a scenic mountain view from a balcony, instructing him to wear the clothes, emphasizing the importance of proper attire. The group of villagers gathers on a cobblestone path in the peaceful village surrounded by mountains, setting a calm and hopeful atmosphere as they prepare for what lies ahead. An elder woman explains to the boy and others that the garment is a hakama, stressing that he must fulfill his role as a guide, underscoring the responsibility and expectations placed on him. The young man with wolf-like ears expresses his desire to learn by staying close to the guardian deity, but the elderly woman chides him to focus on studying first, prompting him to sharply tell her to be quiet. Shidu Jin appears with the young girl and asks if the wolf-eared youth is Salse, complimenting his movements from the previous day, showing Jin's recognition of his progress. The wolf-eared youth excitedly announces that he will be waiting in the royal capital, revealing his eagerness and determination to continue his journey and training. Surprised but motivated, the young man vows to work hard at his studies, while the group around him, including Jin and the elderly woman, show their support and encouragement, entrusting the guardian deity to take good care of the hakama. An elder man advises the young boy named Hakama to take care of his health as he embarks on his journey, emphasizing the importance of self-care before they part ways. The boy acknowledges the advice with a simple agreement, preparing himself mentally for what lies ahead. The group of villagers, including the elder and others who have supported Hakama, wave farewell warmly as he and Shidu Jin begin their departure, marking a heartfelt goodbye filled with hope and encouragement. As they walk along a peaceful path beside a sparkling river, Jin and Hakama share a light moment, their bond growing stronger as they journey forward together under the clear blue sky. The day transitions into evening with a breathtaking sunset over mountains and a waterfall, where Hakama excitedly points out the beauty of the landscape, symbolizing the start of a new chapter filled with wonder and promise. As night falls, Jin and Hakama sit by a campfire deep in the forest, where Hakama asks how far it is to the royal capital, showing his curiosity about the journey ahead. Jin calmly replies they still have to walk for another 4 days, surprising Hakama with how close the destination actually is, which hints at the challenges still to come. Under the starry sky, Hakama addresses Jin as guardian deity and questions why he wants to know about the world, revealing Hakama's growing interest in Jin's motivations and the broader world beyond their travels. Jin smiles mysteriously and refuses to reveal his reasons, calling it a secret, leaving Hakama thoughtful and intrigued about the deeper purpose behind their journey. Shidu Jin reflects on a harsh truth shared by Kagura. Corruptors never truly disappear. He acknowledges that corruptors still exist in the current era, emphasizing the ongoing threat they pose. Jin explains that corruptors should only be able to reproduce in heavily polluted environments, but the natural balance seems disrupted. As Jin channels a glowing energy in his hands, he senses that something fundamental is shifting, signaling a significant change in the world around him. The young girl notices Jin's intense expression and gently tells him he's making a scary face, prompting him to apologize and explain he was lost in thought. Jin reflects quietly that despite the prevalence of corruptors, there must still be people living in this era who have not been dominated by them, hinting at hope for the future. He resolves to first investigate how the people of this era deal with corruptors, deciding to uncover the truth about them gradually over time. As they sit by the campfire under the starry sky, Jin asks the girl to stop calling him guardian deity and insists she simply call him Jin, rejecting formal honorifics to emphasize a more personal connection. A horse gallops swiftly through the night, its hooves pounding the ground as the rider presses forward with urgency. By the campfire, Jin and the young girl are startled as a voice apologizes for disturbing their rest, signaling an unexpected visitor. A group of riders arrives, led by a serious young man in shining armor who politely asks Jin if he may have a moment, indicating an important matter to discuss. The armored man stands solemnly under the starry sky, his piercing blue eyes reflecting determination and gravity, hinting at the weight of his message. Shidu Jin, with a serious and guarded expression, demands to know the identity of the unexpected visitor who has approached them at night. The visitor introduces himself as Argus Walton, the captain of the 7th Division of the Royal Capital Holy Knights Order, revealing his high rank and authority. Jin, still seated by the campfire and holding a cup, questions the significance of the Holy Knights, wondering if they are the group he has been concerned about, showing his cautious curiosity. One of Argus's companions, a fierce-looking woman with dog-like ears, reacts with intense anger and frustration, hinting at underlying tension and conflict between the groups involved. A fierce woman with dog-like ears angrily reprimands someone for their disrespectful attitude, demanding they stand up immediately as the captain is speaking to them. The captain, a blond man in shining armor, turns away from the woman and calls her insolent, while she acknowledges that the troublemakers are definitely the group they encountered. Another voice urges her to stop. The captain politely apologizes for his rudeness while still on horseback and asks if they would be willing to have a conversation, showing his intention to resolve matters through dialogue. Shidujin, sitting by the campfire, questions if the captain means his group, noting that his subordinate was unexpectedly rude, indicating his awareness of the tension and his readiness to address it. The captain demands answers first, asking where Jin and his group have come from and where they are headed, pressing for clarity before any further discussion. The young girl quickly responds that they came from Kodama village and are on their way to the royal capital, confirming their origin and destination. A sly smile appears on the captain's face, hinting that he has recognized something significant about their journey or identity. A fierce female knight on horseback confirms with determination that the travelers must be the ones they have been looking for, signaling that this encounter is far from ordinary and likely to escalate. A fierce female knight declares there is no record of inferior species being born in Kodama village, accusing others of slipping up and labeling them as inferior species, showing her intense pride and protective stance toward her village. Shidujin contemplates the presence of birth records and organization in this country, noting that the system is quite structured, which surprises him given the context of their journey. The female knight confronts a male knight, who calmly denies her assumption, leaving her confused and questioning his response, hinting at a deeper complexity in their understanding of Kodama village. The young girl explains that the clothes she wears are made from Kodama cloth, a specialty product of Kodama village, which is highly valued and traded at high prices even in the royal capital, emphasizing the village's unique cultural and economic significance. The knight confirms that Kodama cloth tailored for children rarely appears on the market, making the girl's claim of coming from Kodama village likely true, which shocks the female knight beside him. The knight then ominously adds that despite this truth, there is more to consider, as he reaches for his sword with a serious intent. Shidujin steps forward calmly, drawing his sword with a sharp resolve, while the young girl watches anxiously from behind him, as he declares that they are different. Jin observes the unfamiliar clothes they wear and questions where in the world they could have come from, highlighting the mystery surrounding their origins and setting the stage for a deeper confrontation. Shidujin explains that on the road from Kodama village to the royal capital, there have been frequent incidents where bandits use children to steal cargo, revealing a troubling pattern of criminal activity. The captain of the Holy Knights accuses the group directly, stating that these criminals act while pretending to be harmless, implying that Jin and his companions fit this suspicious profile. The young girl urgently denies the accusation, insisting that it is not them and asserting that only the Holy Knights have the authority to judge such matters, showing her fear and determination to clear their names. The girl clenches her teeth in distress, struggling to hold back her emotions as the tension between the travelers and the knights escalates, underscoring the gravity of the confrontation. A young figure with pointed ears summons a powerful surge of glowing energy, their determination evident as crackling blue lightning surrounds them, signaling the unleashing of a formidable magical ability. The young figure is warned sternly not to attempt anything reckless, as glowing golden symbols encircle them, emphasizing the serious and dangerous nature of their power. The young figure reacts with shock and concern, sweat visible on their face, as an unseen observer recognizes the presence of divine power within them, marking them as a promising individual for the future. The observer's sharp, light blue eyes filled with intrigue and hope, acknowledging the young figure's rare and significant potential. Shidujin calmly observes the young figure surrounded by glowing swords, realizing that these are the feared Holy Knights. His expression reveals a mix of caution and understanding as he assesses their formidable presence. The leader of the Holy Knights, clad in shining armor, points his sword directly at Jin, demanding to know where he and his group came from, warning that their fate depends entirely on his answer. Jin meets the challenge head-on, his gaze sharp and unwavering as he declares that if the answer is unsatisfactory, he will cut down the accuser right then and there, showing his readiness to fight rather than submit. Internally, Jin acknowledges the undeniable strength of the Holy Knights, recognizing that they are powerful adversaries, which heightens the tension and stakes of the confrontation. Shidujin remains silent, his sharp light blue eyes fixed with unwavering intensity, conveying a deep, unspoken resolve as the tension in the confrontation thickens. The leader of the Holy Knights demands an answer about their origins, warning that their fate hinges on the response he receives. His sword pointed unwaveringly at Shidujin as tension mounts. With fierce determination, the knight threatens to cut Jin down immediately if his answer is unsatisfactory, showing no hesitation to resort to violence. Jin remains silent, his sharp eyes reflecting a calm but resolute defiance, refusing to be intimidated despite the grave threat. The Jin's face reveals his unyielding resolve as he processes the challenge, holding back his reply while the weight of the moment presses down on him. The knight's intense gaze sharpens as sweat beads on his face, revealing his inner conflict and the weight of the moment as he keeps his sword raised, poised between threat and hesitation. Jin calmly breaks the silence, declaring that he comes from Kodama village, directly confronting the knight's suspicions with a clear and unyielding statement. A female knight reacts with shock and disbelief, her voice rising in surprise as she struggles to process Jin's unexpected claim, revealing cracks in the knight's certainty and escalating the tension. The captain of the Holy Knights lowers his sword slowly, acknowledging Jin's answer with a quiet, thoughtful acceptance, which causes confusion and concern among the other knights, signaling a shift in the confrontation's dynamic. The armored knight questions the young girl intensely, asking if she is lying about her origins, while she nervously affirms her truth with a determined nod. The girl reveals that Jin is the guardian deity of Kodama village, surprising the knight and adding weight to her claim. The knight processes this revelation with a mix of surprise and understanding, realizing the significance of the title, guardian deity. With the tension easing, the knight asks if their business is concluded, and Jin calmly confirms that it is, signaling the end of the confrontation. The captain, mounted on his horse, calmly explains that his harsh behavior is simply part of his duty, asking for forgiveness for his rudeness, which shocks a female knight who protests his attitude. He inquires if Jin is also heading to the royal capital, to which Jin confirms, prompting the captain to remark that they will likely meet again in the future. The captain offers Jin assistance if he ever encounters trouble, and requests that Jin overlook the 7-day debt they owe, causing the female knight to react with disbelief and concern. Without hesitation, the captain announces his departure, leaving the female knight stunned and questioning his seriousness as he rides away, while Jin watches quietly. Jin is called urgently by someone, his calm and composed expression unchanged despite the sudden shout. The group rides swiftly through a mountainous forest path under the starry night, as a voice questions why someone retreated earlier, hinting at a critical moment of hesitation. A female knight angrily insists that the suspicion was justified, condemning the so-called inferior species with frustration and disbelief, revealing deep-seated prejudice within the group. Jin reflects quietly on the harsh label of inferior species, his thoughtful gaze showing he is processing the weight and implications of such discrimination. The leader of the Holy Knights questions which side truly represents the inferior species, casting doubt on their own assumptions and unsettling his companions. A fellow knight nervously agrees, acknowledging the overwhelming power difference they witnessed, especially when facing the senior power among them. The senior knight calmly points out that the difference in strength was obvious, hinting that their underestimation was a critical mistake. Meanwhile, Jin reflects quietly by the fire, contemplating the vast gap in power between himself and the Holy Knights, underscoring the tension and stakes of their encounter. The knight admits he attacked 3 times but failed to land a decisive blow, his expression revealing frustration and disbelief at the opponent's resilience. He then draws his sword and points it firmly at the man in front of him, demanding answers or action with unwavering authority. His grip tightens on the sword's hilt, signaling readiness to strike or escalate the confrontation at any moment. Meanwhile, the man calmly clenches his fist inside his coat, a subtle but deliberate movement hinting at hidden power or a prepared countermeasure. Jin reflects on how he was defeated before he even had a chance to fight back, facing a knight who confidently points his sword at him under the starry sky. A female knight nervously asks if the captain used his divine power during the fight, to which he quietly confirms that he did. The female knight reacts with shock and disbelief, as she realizes the captain's divine power never even activated during the battle. Jin explains that he attacked the opponent just as he did with a young girl before, but the spirits refused to lend him their power, leaving him powerless in both encounters. 2 female knights riding side by side exchange tense words, one urgently questioning if the situation implies something significant, while the other quietly agrees, confirming the gravity of what they suspect. The knights realize this means there is a vast disparity in their fundamental divine power, suggesting that someone with extraordinary ability is involved, capable of feats beyond their understanding. A male knight's serious expression reveals his conclusion that among all the holy knights, only the Grand Captain could possess such overwhelming power, highlighting the immense challenge they face. The female knights react with frustration and determination, one expressing a sharp sound of annoyance as they continue their pursuit, fully aware of the daunting presence of the Grand Captain ahead. A female knight admits she didn't notice something important at all, her expression tense and conflicted as she grips the reins tightly. A male knight explains calmly that the person in question was simply too much of an anomaly, reminding her that she has only just joined the squad and is still inexperienced. The group rides swiftly through the night, discussing the corruptor in Kodama village and agreeing that it is likely the anomaly they are concerned about. The female knight questions if they should just leave him alone, worried about the danger, but the male knight insists they don't know his origins and he didn't seem threatening, so they should keep an eye on him for now. The group prepares to return to the royal capital despite having resolved the corruptor incident early, emphasizing that they cannot afford to remain away any longer. The leader delegates the responsibility of handling the bandit subjugation to the guild, placing trust in their cooperation. As they ride, the leader reflects on the guardian deity of Kodama village, cautioning that possessing strength alone is not enough and that dignity must also be upheld. He contemplates the possibility that if this guardian deity were to become an ally, it could prove invaluable in addressing the country's significant challenges. A majestic view of the royal capital at night, underscoring the gravity of the situation and the hope that this new alliance might help overcome the major problems facing the nation. Shidujin recalls meeting someone intriguing the previous day as he walks alongside a young girl through a serene landscape, hinting at a new connection that might influence his journey. The young girl wonders if all knights in the royal capital possess such exceptional abilities, but Jean explains that the extraordinary power they witnessed was a rare exception, not the norm. Jean elaborates that among all knights, only the elite are inducted into the prestigious Holy Knights, emphasizing the exclusivity and high standards required to reach that level. He further reveals that the activation speed of the Grand Captain's spirit magic operates on a completely different level, surprising the girl who questions the nature of spirit magic itself. The young girl explains that the power to borrow the strength of spirits is called divine power, and the techniques activated by this power are known as spirit magic. She illustrates this with a simple example where a spirit willingly lends its power, but when corrupted, it becomes a dangerous threat. Shidujin processes this information thoughtfully, realizing that nanomachines are treated as spirits within this system, which reframes his understanding of the powers at play. As they continue walking, Jean reflects on the nature of their world, concluding that in this era, science and fantasy are intertwined, blending seamlessly into one another. Suddenly, a fierce female knight appears, shouting an insult at inferior species, while Jean remains calm and contemplative, considering the implications of such hostility in this complex world. Shidujin reflects on the harsh insult of being called inferior species, pondering its weight as the young girl beside him looks on with confusion. He explains that this era is home to many different species, confirming the girl's understanding with a simple affirmation. Jean elaborates that some species resemble fish while others are closer to insects, prompting the girl to question the idea of insect-like beings. Recalling a story from Granny, Jean describes a time long ago when living spaces were limited, showing underwater scenes of merfolk to illustrate the origins and diversity of these species. The world transformed as everyone adapted by changing into bodies suited for the regions they inhabited, reflecting a deep connection between form and environment. Shidujin contemplates this adaptation, questioning if these changes were specifically tailored to fit the environment. He wonders if some survivors truly existed 100 million years ago and if humans evolved from them, but quickly decides it's pointless to dwell on such distant history now. Jean then asks if those who didn't undergo these changes are considered the inferior species, and the young girl confirms this harsh reality with a simple affirmation. The harsh reality is laid bare. Those who adapted and changed to fit their environments are far superior, leaving others behind as inferior in many ways. This divide fuels the cold, unfeeling view the world holds toward the so-called inferior species. Shidujin learns that many of these inferior species are not only looked down upon but are also sold as slaves, a revelation that shocks him deeply. The young girl reflects on this cruel treatment, pointing out the strangeness of discriminating against someone simply because they are a little different, emphasizing that the difference in treatment is not as justified as it seems. Jean concludes with a somber observation that in this world, everyone harbors their own madness, highlighting the complexity and cruelty embedded in societal views and behaviors toward others. Shidujin warmly tells the young girl beside him that she is a good person, prompting her to look up at him with a puzzled expression. As they walk along a forest path, a new figure approaches, their presence growing larger and more imposing with each step. Both Jean and the girl notice the newcomer, their attention drawn as they prepare for what might come next. The approaching figure stumbles and falls to the ground, pleading desperately for something, shocking Jean and the girl with this unexpected display. The young girl rushes to the fallen figure with blue hair, urgently asking if they are okay, while Shidujin watches with concern. Jin's expression sharpens as he suddenly notices something unusual, his attention fully captured. The blue-haired person gasps for breath, clearly exhausted and battered, struggling to recover from whatever caused their collapse. Jean focuses intently on the distinctive ears of the collapsed figure, realizing their significance and what they might reveal about this person's identity or origin. The blue-haired woman lies on the ground, exhausted and gasping for breath, her body covered in dirt and bruises, clearly having endured a harsh ordeal. The young girl kneels beside her, worried and trying to offer comfort. The MC observes the injuries carefully, noting the severity and extent of the bruises, his expression serious as he assesses the woman's condition. The young girl anxiously asks if the blue-haired woman is okay, supporting her gently as she struggles to stay conscious and respond. The man raises his hand, preparing to use some form of healing or treatment, reassuring them both that he will take care of her injuries immediately. The blue-haired woman, bruised and desperate, holds a knife to the young girl's throat, warning the MC not to move or she will kill him. Her fierce determination and exhaustion show how dire their situation is. The MC stands calmly, his expression unreadable but alert, as he commands them to freeze, clearly assessing the threat with precision and control. The blue-haired woman tightens her grip on the girl, panting heavily as she threatens to kill the man if he makes a move, her resolve unwavering despite her battered state. The young girl looks terrified but remains still, caught in the tense standoff. The MC narrows his eyes thoughtfully, silently acknowledging the situation and the woman's desperation, preparing to respond carefully to this dangerous confrontation. The blue-haired woman, bruised and desperate, holds a knife tightly to the young girl's throat, declaring their situation is a perfect trap, revealing her fierce determination despite exhaustion. The MC narrows his eyes, realizing the danger means their enemies are close by, heightening the tension and urgency of their predicament. A shadowy figure approaches steadily down the path, confirming that someone capable of setting such a trap truly exists nearby, signaling an imminent confrontation. An older man with a beard praises someone named Puffle for a job well done, indicating that the trap was orchestrated by an ally and the threat is part of a larger plan. A man with a cunning smile commends his subordinates for following orders perfectly, revealing their use of stealth camouflage to conceal their presence. The stealth camouflage is explained as a nanomachine function that captures surrounding imagery, making the user appear transparent and blend into the environment. However, the transparency effect breaks when the user moves, a significant drawback, but the enemies manage to use it effectively by dressing the protagonist in fine clothes unusual for an inferior species, prompting them to question his origin. The protagonist remains calm and composed despite the threat, as a sword is drawn and pressed against him, warning him not to move, signaling a tense standoff. A man holding a sword warns Jean not to move, threatening deadly consequences as the blue-haired woman holds a knife to the young girl's throat, escalating the tension in their standoff. The young girl struggles to activate a glowing power despite the danger, her determination clear as the blue-haired woman restrains her tightly. Someone urgently calls out to Hakama, heightening the urgency of the moment as the young girl reacts with fear and surprise under the blue-haired woman's grip. Jean calmly asserts that the power the girl is trying to use is not meant to be aimed at people, emphasizing the seriousness of the situation and demanding her understanding. The young girl, held tightly by the blue-haired woman who threatens her with a knife, suddenly shouts out in alarm, her wide eyes filled with fear as the tense standoff escalates. A man with a sinister grin raises his sword excitedly, declaring this moment a jackpot upon discovering that the protagonist truly possesses holy power, a revelation that promises great advantage. The protagonist calmly responds to a muscular elf's question about whether he can also wield holy power, his confident expression hinting at hidden depths and potential. Without warning, the protagonist swiftly counters by kicking the man holding the sword, breaking the immediate threat and shifting the balance of power in the confrontation. A muscular elf angrily kicks Jean, warning him not to get cocky because he considers Jean an inferior species, escalating the hostility between them. The elf sternly orders someone not to damage the merchandise, dismissing Jin's value by claiming an inferior species wouldn't fetch a high price. The blue-haired woman, holding a knife to the young girl's throat, listens as the elf doubts Jin's holy power, insisting no inferior species could possess such power, causing the woman to realize they are dealing with dangerous slave traders. The young girl, terrified and restrained, internally identifies these men as the bandits the Holy Knight mentioned, slave traders, highlighting the grave threat they face. A man with a stern expression, surrounded by crackling energy, tells the young girl to go to sleep for a while, admitting he is a little angry. The girl, held tightly by the blue-haired woman, fears that if she is captured like this, she will be sold as a slave. The girl struggles desperately to activate her glowing power despite the danger, her wide eyes filled with fear as she realizes her grim fate if caught. A voice calls out repeatedly, urging Hakama to wake up, breaking through the darkness and silence. Hakama suddenly awakens with a start inside a cage, his eyes wide with shock as he recognizes Jin's voice, signaling a critical moment of rescue or confrontation. The protagonist asks the young girl if her body is okay, showing concern for her well-being, and she reassures him that she is fine, hinting at something more beyond just physical health. He looks around the grim surroundings filled with cages holding captured people and wonders aloud where they are, the harsh reality of their captivity sinking in. He explains that this place is the base of the people who attacked them, revealing the source of their recent danger and the scale of the threat they face. He observes that others who were attacked in the same way are being gathered here, indicating a systematic operation targeting victims like them and raising the stakes of their predicament. Two prisoners sit on the floor of a cage, their clothes tattered and dirty, showing signs of long-term neglect and hardship. A green-haired elf girl shivers violently inside her own cage, clutching herself tightly as she struggles to endure the cold and fear. The protagonist sits cross-legged in a separate cage, facing the young girl who watches him silently, the tension between them palpable despite the quiet. The protagonist explains calmly that he was stripped of his clothes because they were rare, though they allowed him to keep his underwear. He remains composed, revealing he has spent most of his life naked, which unnerves the girl who comments on his unusual calmness. The young girl, her expression serious and curious, asks the protagonist why he didn't resist their captors, pressing for an explanation that goes beyond mere survival. The protagonist, calm and composed despite his bare state, silently acknowledges that Jean should have been able to defeat their enemies easily, implying a deeper reason for his inaction. Outside the cage, two figures stand by the open door, one urging to just get the ordeal over with, signaling impatience and the harsh reality awaiting Jean. Inside the cage, Jean sits quietly, his gaze steady as the young girl watches him closely, the tension between them thick as they prepare to confront the difficult truths behind their capture. A battered blue-haired woman holding a tray with food notices someone waking up and calmly acknowledges it, showing a moment of quiet recognition amid their grim surroundings. The young girl in the cage reacts with shock and anger upon seeing the woman, demanding to know who she is, while the woman offers a resigned invitation to hate her. The blue-haired woman admits she does not expect forgiveness and never believed she would be forgiven from the start, revealing deep regret and emotional burden. The young girl grips the bars fiercely, her expression fierce and conflicted as she processes the woman's words, highlighting the tension and unresolved feelings between them. The protagonist, sitting calmly in his cage, tells the young girl that she is truly kind, surprising her with his unexpected compliment. The young girl, shocked and confused, questions what he means by kind, struggling to reconcile this with her perception of him as a villain. He explains that a real villain never worries about being hated or forgiven. They simply act without hesitation or concern for others' opinions. After a brief silence, the man stands confidently, signaling a shift in their grim situation, while the young girl and another captive watch him closely, uncertain of what will come next. The young man clenches his fists tightly around the prison bars, his muscles straining as he desperately tries to break free from his confinement. His wide, determined eyes reveal a mix of fear and fierce resolve as he grits his teeth, pushing himself to the limit in this moment of urgent escape. Suddenly, the bars bend and warp, and the protagonist stands confidently before the young girl, now free from the cage, his calm expression contrasting with the tension in the room. He calmly tells her he has been waiting for her arrival and that they can speak here without fear of being overheard, leaving her stunned and questioning if he truly means her. The blue-haired girl, battered and desperate, is confronted with a piercing question about the whereabouts of someone important to her, specifically asking if that person is being held captive, which shocks her deeply. She demands to know how the protagonist could possibly know such a detail. His calm response that it was merely a guess only deepens the mystery and tension between them. The man reveals that he was initially deceived as well, but he recognized the truth because her wounds were genuine, implying a betrayal or manipulation involving inflicted injuries. He explains that even a villain wouldn't harm a comrade so severely, which led him to realize the truth immediately, as the girl's wounds begin to glow with a healing light, signaling a turning point in their understanding. The protagonist reveals to the blue-haired girl that she only followed others because they held leverage over her, leaving her speechless and shaken by this harsh truth. Overwhelmed by the realization, she clenches her hands tightly, struggling to contain her pain and confusion as the weight of his words sinks in. The man solemnly confirms that her brother is indeed being held captive, a revelation that stuns her into silence as she processes the devastating news. Flashing back to a traumatic memory, the girl recalls how her brother was seized and threatened with being sold to traders, a cruel fate that haunts her deeply. The blue-haired girl cries out in anguish, declaring that she and her brother will be separated for life, her voice trembling with desperation and pain. She recalls the brutal loss of her parents, her grief fueling a fierce determination to protect her brother at all costs. Even as tears fall freely, the young girl's resolve hardens as she clenches her fists, silently affirming that her mission to protect her brother is the reason behind her actions, leaving the protagonist speechless as he listens. The protagonist's expression darkens with cold fury, his eyes sharp and filled with contempt as he silently brands those responsible as scum, his resolve now steeled for what must come next. The young girl is questioned about whether she deliberately got caught to save someone, and the muscular man admits that while that may be true, there is more to consider. He explains that villains are stubborn and persistent, comparing them to oil stains that are difficult to remove. The girl, confused, asks what he means by oil stains. A guard standing by a heavy door warns that if even one villain escapes, they will only spread their influence elsewhere and cause more trouble. The guard then emphasizes that if the villains are to be crushed, it must be done thoroughly and decisively, underscoring the need for complete eradication. The protagonist launches a powerful kick, sending a muscular opponent crashing through a wooden door with immense force, demonstrating his overwhelming strength and determination to break free. Emerging from the shattered doorway, he stands tall and unyielding amid the dust and debris, his presence alone signaling a decisive turn in the conflict. With a fierce and resolute expression, he declares that to truly eliminate a threat, it must be eradicated from the roots, emphasizing the need for thorough and complete action to prevent any chance of resurgence. The story flashes back 100 million years ago, revealing a futuristic cityscape bustling with neon lights and elevated highways, setting a distant and advanced era for the unfolding tale. A young boy, dirted and worn, stands alone in a dimly lit alley, his expression distant and contemplative as he faces an uncertain future. Memories surface of a time when he admired a heroic figure who exposed a notorious drug organization, revealing his early yearning for justice and a desire to make a difference in a corrupt world. The boy remains standing in the quiet street as a sleek, armored vehicle approaches, symbolizing the looming presence of authority or danger as his journey toward justice begins. The boy, battered and bruised, sits silently under the looming presence of a man standing over him, as he reflects on a sudden realization that changes his perspective. He contemplates the harsh truth that the world desperately needs justice, a thought that weighs heavily on his young mind. His reflection darkens further as he acknowledges that this world is filled with trash-like people, corrupt and overflowing in every corner. The boy is forcefully grabbed by the collar and lifted off the ground by a towering man, underscoring the brutal reality he faces. While he admits that if he could live a normal life, that would be the greatest blessing. The boy reflects on his desire for a normal life, but acknowledges that the harsh environment he lives in never allowed it. Despite his small size, he confronts a much larger man smoking a cigarette, showing his defiance and unwillingness to back down. Surrounded by others, the boy remains calm and resolute as the man struggles in pain, emphasizing the boy's determination to crush his enemies. With a powerful strike, the boy throws a man across the room, decisively crushing those who stand against him and proving his strength in this brutal world. The young man decisively grabs the collar of a man wearing a hat, his expression cold and focused as he prepares to crush his enemies without hesitation. Sitting atop a pile of defeated foes, he reflects on his relentless actions, acknowledging that he kept killing without pause. One day, as he remains perched on the heap of bodies, a new figure approaches, signaling a turning point as he recalls being told something important. His sharp gaze shifts with a hint of realization or alertness, contemplating the weight of what he has been told, deep in thought amid the quiet aftermath. A man with glasses calmly states that the person before him was born into the wrong world, extending a hand as if offering a chance or a new path. Two muscular warriors armed with weapons urgently shout for someone to stop, their expressions filled with alarm and desperation. A barefoot woman drags a battered man by the hair across a wooden floor, her determined stride showing no mercy. Several defeated warriors lie sprawled on the floor, one clutching his chest while another demands to know the woman's purpose, their voices filled with confusion and fear. A battered guard slumps against a wall, shocked and demanding to know how the intruder got inside. A calm, confident smile spreads across the intruder's face, hinting at his assured control of the situation. With swift, overwhelming force, the intruder launches the guard into the air, demonstrating his superior strength and combat skill, while two other guards watch in alarm. Another guard rushes forward to catch the airborne man, but his surprise is evident as the intruder's unexpected power turns the tide of the confrontation. Our MC charges fiercely at the armored opponent wielding a spiked weapon, his speed and determination catching the enemy off guard. The armored man's shocked expression reveals his sudden realization of the overwhelming threat he faces, fear and disbelief overtaking him. Standing tall and confident, our MC clenches his fist, demanding to know who the defeated man is, asserting his dominance in the room. The fallen armored man struggles to rise, glaring up at the newcomer with frustration and anger, but our MC's imposing presence forces him back down with a sharp sound of resistance. A group of people, including the girl with short brown hair and the blue-haired woman, stand together in tense silence, their expressions filled with concern and unease as an ominous atmosphere settles around them. The blue-haired woman clutches her chest, her face marked by shock and fear as she recognizes a scream that deeply unsettles her, hinting at a dangerous or traumatic event nearby. The blue-haired woman urgently demands to know the identity of the girl's partner, reacting with disbelief when the girl calmly reveals that her partner is a guardian god, a revelation that shocks and confuses her. The girl with brown hair reassures everyone with quiet confidence, stating that if they leave the situation to Jean, everything will be fine, implying trust in his abilities to handle the threat they face. Meanwhile, a group of battered individuals is ordered to leave the room, with the girl leading them outside, while the blue-haired woman questions if they will truly be saved, revealing their uncertainty and hope amid the tense situation. The older man reflects anxiously on the young man's overwhelming divine power, realizing that brute force alone won't be enough to defeat him. The older man, now terrified, pleads desperately for the young man to wait, showing his growing panic and vulnerability. The old man in fear demands what the other wants, bluntly asking if it's money. A man with a nervous, forced smile begins to speak hesitantly, clearly unsettled by the situation. He suddenly demands if the other wants slaves, pointing accusingly at a cage holding several dirty, frightened children. Inside the cage, a young boy looks out with wide, innocent eyes as the man offers to give whichever child the other desires. The silver-haired young man listens silently, his expression unreadable but clearly processing the grim offer with serious contemplation. The man with the goatee demands sharply if the other is finished speaking. His posture tense as blood stains the floor beneath him and a defeated figure lies nearby. Sweat beads on his forehead as panic sets in, his wide eyes filled with fear and confusion as he questions what is happening around him. Our MC clenches his jaw, frustrated and bewildered that his spirit magic refuses to activate despite his efforts. The fearful man stares directly into the eyes of the young man, his terror deepening as he realizes the true nature of the threat before him. Our MC demands to know what kind of power the older man possesses, his tone sharp and accusatory. The older man, cornered and sweating, retorts bitterly that it helps the young man to be a half-baked villain, implying his power is tainted or incomplete. The young man explains coldly that someone like the older man first underestimates his opponent, arrogantly assuming victory before the fight even begins. The older man, panic rising, admits that the real villains flee immediately, revealing his fear and the harsh reality of their world. The young man continues, stating that when someone is about to lose, they resort to sucking up, provoking the older man into a frustrated, clenched-teeth reaction as he struggles to maintain composure. The man with the goatee, sensing the dire situation, decides that if things escalate further, he has no choice but to act decisively, stepping forward with determination while our MC watches silently. Gripping a lever tightly, the man shouts that the fight is not over yet, refusing to concede as he prepares to unleash whatever plan he has in store. With a fierce expression, he pulls the lever, opening a large cage door, signaling that he is about to release something powerful to turn the tide. Behind the bars stands a massive, intimidating demon-like creature, its presence radiating menace as the cage swings open, revealing the dangerous force now unleashed into the conflict. Our MC suddenly senses an intruder, his sharp gaze narrowing as he questions the identity of the invader. He reveals that this powerful creature was specially procured at the request of a certain person, hinting at a deeper conspiracy behind its presence. The massive demon-like creature bursts forth from its cage, its intimidating form radiating dark energy as it stomps forward, ready to unleash destruction. The young man accepts the inevitability of battle, acknowledging that if flattery won't work, then force must be used. A man with a sly, confident grin speaks grandly, his expression filled with malicious delight as he watches the chaos unfold, clearly pleased with the arrival of the monstrous ally. The demon charges at the young man, who stands firm and unafraid, boldly declaring his intent to utterly destroy the beast, setting the stage for a fierce confrontation. The demon lunges forward with a powerful swing, its monstrous form radiating dark energy as it attacks relentlessly. Our MC meets the assault with unwavering determination, his glowing eyes sharp and focused as he prepares to counter. He braces himself, crossing his arms to block the demon's strike, showcasing his immense physical strength and resilience as the impact sends shockwaves through the air. Despite the demon's overwhelming power, the young man remains steadfast, ready to fight with everything he has. Suddenly, a man with a wild expression and a manic grin reacts in disbelief, clearly shocked by the young man's unexpected resistance and strength. His reaction hints at the young man's surprising capabilities that defy the demon's terrifying presence. The young man declares confidently that he was born with a superhuman constitution, explaining that his extraordinary physical traits allow him to withstand and fight such formidable foes. His fierce resolve and innate power set the stage for an intense battle against the monstrous adversary. The young man reflects on his extraordinary physique, noting that compared to a normal human, he possesses many more muscle fibers, which explains his superhuman constitution and resilience. The demon roars fiercely, charging forward with overwhelming power, its monstrous form ready to crush anything in its path. Standing firm, the young man prepares to confront the invader without hesitation, his body crackling with energy as he vows not to hold back against this threat. Channeling his divine power, he unleashes a powerful energy blast aimed directly at the demon, determined to end the battle decisively with his overwhelming force. The man scrambles backward in shock as ominous, glowing sacks lie broken on the ground, signaling a dangerous development he clearly did not anticipate. His panicked exclamation reveals his fear and the gravity of the situation. Our MC, calm and composed, questions how the other cannot even use divine power, implying a critical disadvantage. He then challenges the man, asking what his next move will be, pressing him to act despite his limitations. The young man's intense gaze and serious expression underscore the weight of his question, demanding a decisive response and signaling that the moment for mercy or hesitation is over. The man, sweating and trembling, stammers a plea for mercy, revealing his desperation and fear in the face of the young man's overwhelming presence and power. The man, sweating nervously yet forcing a strained smile, admits he knows he won't be allowed to leave, revealing his awareness of the control others hold over him. Without hesitation, RMC, eyes glowing with fierce determination, delivers a powerful, decisive strike that violently incapacitates the man, making it clear that no mercy or release will be granted. The MC calmly puts on his coat, signaling his readiness to take action with a simple, determined, "all right." He confirms that he has retrieved his clothes, showing a composed and resolute demeanor as he prepares to move forward. Addressing the captives locked in a cage, he asks them to wait just a little longer, promising that their rescue is imminent. The children inside the cage respond with hopeful smiles and relief, encouraged by his assurance that he will get everyone out safely later. The MC stands at a wooden desk, determined to investigate thoroughly before taking any further steps, emphasizing the need to gather concrete evidence of wrongdoing to make his case effective. He opens a drawer carefully, his gloved hand reaching inside to retrieve documents that might hold the proof he seeks, signaling the start of a deeper inquiry. As he reviews the papers, suspicion grows in his mind, the contents hinting at hidden truths and possible deceit that demand closer scrutiny. A slight, knowing smile crosses his lips as he acknowledges the significance of what he has found, signaling his readiness to act on this newfound information. The MC is puzzled by the documents he holds, admitting he has no clue what they say, his confusion emphasized by question marks surrounding him. Turning away from a defeated figure slumped against a cracked wall, he resolves to ask Hakama to teach him how to read, recognizing his current inability to understand the written information. Kneeling among shattered remnants, he contemplates the bigger mystery of why the captors targeted the invader, questioning their true intentions behind the capture. Determined to uncover the truth, he activates a glowing energy from his gloved hand, preparing to investigate the fragments and find answers. The man activates a system to access the cameras embedded in nanomachines drifting around the area, seeking visual information from the surroundings. He focuses intently, explaining that footage from within the last week should still be recorded and retrievable, hoping to uncover recent events. His sharp gaze intensifies as he processes the incoming data, determined to find clues that will shed light on the mystery. Meanwhile, a tense conversation unfolds between captors and prisoners. One questions the purpose of capturing such a creature, but the Lord coldly dismisses the inquiry, insisting that the reason is none of their concern. The man with the curled white hair and elaborate clothing ominously hints that he will reveal something important, his smile suggesting a hidden agenda. His expression darkens as he declares that very soon, something interesting will happen in the country, signaling an impending significant event. Meanwhile, the MC studies data intensely, his focused gaze showing his determination to uncover the truth behind recent developments. Outside, the peaceful town basks in sunlight, unaware that the calm will soon be disrupted by the unfolding events hinted at by the sinister figure. A group of soldiers and townspeople gather in the town square, their presence stirring a quiet tension among the villagers. Among the crowd, a young woman with blue hair watches anxiously as the soldiers direct some captives, her concern growing with the unfolding situation. Suddenly, a young boy with messy light blue hair bursts through the crowd, calling out excitedly for his sister, his face bright with hope and relief. The blue-haired woman, overwhelmed with emotion, rushes toward the boy as he reaches out to her, their reunion charged with heartfelt urgency and joy. The captors discuss the bandits they have arrested, questioning whether these enforcers belong to the local territory. A woman with short hair clarifies that they are actually guild staff she personally summoned, revealing an outside authority's involvement in the arrests. The blue-haired woman and the young boy, both visibly relieved and tearful, embrace tightly, overwhelmed by the reunion and the safety they found after their ordeal. The MC stands calmly in the town street, reassuring the grateful pair that although he is not a god, they need not worry because he will protect them. As he turns his gaze thoughtfully, he begins to inquire further about the situation, indicating his intent to uncover more about the bandits and the forces at play in the area. The man with large curled horns is introduced as the guildmaster of the town, holding a thick notebook and discussing matters with two uniformed women, establishing his authority and importance in the community. His sharp gaze shifts with a hint of surprise or realization, signaling that he has noticed something significant or unexpected. Approaching the MC and the young boy, the guildmaster directly asks if he is responsible for the recent events, receiving a straightforward confirmation that sets the stage for accountability and confrontation. The guildmaster formally introduces himself as Padrak and expresses gratitude for the cooperation he has received, reinforcing his role as a respected leader while his attendants bow respectfully behind him. Padrak, the guildmaster, solemnly acknowledges the gravity of the situation, his expression serious as he contemplates the recent events. The MC reflects on the remarkable resilience of a certain individual, noting that despite facing numerous opponents, he remains unscathed, sparking a deep intuition about his true nature. Padrak, now visibly concerned, admits that this person is far from ordinary, revealing that the guild has received countless damage reports and endless requests to eliminate the bandits connected to this group. As they converse in the town square, Padrak explains that the Lord lacks the authority to command arrests, dismissing the idea that the Lord would take direct action against the bandits, highlighting the political limitations at play. Padrak explains that the only ones authorized to handle these crimes are the guild staff who have pledged loyalty to the king, emphasizing the strict hierarchy and legal boundaries in place. He clarifies that even if Lord Chapion, the local ruler, were to commit a crime, the guild is obligated to report it to the king, though he doubts such an event would ever occur, underscoring the political structure and limits of local power. The MC reflects on this system, comparing the Lord to a mayor and the guild to the police, illustrating the analogy to modern governance and reinforcing the guild's role in maintaining order. Meanwhile, a dark-haired man with animal ears contemplates the situation with a sly expression, acknowledging the continued influence of Chapion, hinting at underlying tensions and unresolved conflicts surrounding the local ruler. Padrak examines a rolled-up document retrieved from the bandits, questioning its usefulness as he contemplates the information it might contain. His expression shifts to shock as he realizes the document is a list naming those who conducted business with the bandits, revealing a deeper network of complicity. The MC studies the list carefully, noting that with this evidence, they can apprehend all involved parties at once, and wonders if the local lord's name appears among them. He then clarifies that his earlier joke about the Lord was not serious, acknowledging the gravity of the situation and concluding that the Lord is indeed a significant villain in this conflict. The MC admits there is nothing he can do about the situation right now, but feels compelled to address one pressing concern first, prompting curiosity from the blue-haired girl and the young boy beside her. He asks Padrak, the guildmaster, what will happen to the freed slaves, seeking clarity on their fate amid the chaos. Padrak explains that those with search requests or known families will be safely returned by the guild, offering some reassurance. However, Padrak somberly adds that for those who do not fit into either category, there is nothing the guild can do to help them, a harsh reality that weighs heavily on the blue-haired girl as she looks down in worry. The MC reflects that the two children likely lost their parents and questions if there are any shelters available for orphans like them, highlighting the urgent need for care and protection beyond the guild's current reach. Padrak solemnly admits there are no shelters available for the freed slaves without families or search requests, though the guild can help them find work. He hesitates, implying the reality is more complicated. The blue-haired girl sadly explains that because the two children belong to an inferior species, it will be difficult for them to find jobs, highlighting societal discrimination. The MC reflects bitterly on the prejudice they face, recognizing that they are considered inferior species here as well, deepening the sense of exclusion and hardship. He quietly confesses his desire to help the children but feels powerless because they have nowhere to work, underscoring the harsh limitations imposed by their status and the bleak future they face. The MC suddenly senses something amiss and urges himself to pause and reconsider, his sharp eyes narrowing as a new thought takes hold. Turning to the two children, the blue-haired girl asks if they would be willing to go to a place where they could work, seeking their honest response. Both children eagerly agree, their faces up with hope and determination despite their worn appearances. The MC smiles quietly, confirming that he indeed has a plan in mind to help them, signaling a shift from despair to possibility. Meanwhile, Argus Walton, clad in his ornate armor, offers a sincere promise that if they ever need assistance, they should not hesitate to come to him, extending a lifeline of support and protection. The MC with piercing eyes reveals a sly smile as he hints at a very special workplace, suggesting a secretive or unique opportunity that could change the children's bleak prospects. A bright, peaceful morning at the royal capital, specifically the Argus estate, where the atmosphere contrasts sharply with the previous tension, indicating a new setting and possibly new developments. Argus Walton, riding alongside a companion, suddenly stiffens in shock, his expression filled with alarm as if sensing an unexpected danger or ominous presence nearby. His companion notices his unease and asks if something is wrong, but Argus dismisses it as a sudden chill, masking his true concern while maintaining composure as they continue their journey. Argus Walton swiftly dismounts his horse, signaling a decisive end to the current situation. Standing firmly beside his horse, he declares that this is far enough, asserting control and readiness to move forward. He commends the expedition's success and urges everyone to take a well-deserved rest, acknowledging their efforts and the need for recovery. With a purposeful stride, Argus enters a grand building, greeted respectfully by attendants, marking a transition to a new phase of his duties. As Lord Argus returns to the grand estate, the maids and butlers bow deeply in unison, welcoming him back with utmost respect and formality. Argus, still clad in his ornate armor, approaches an older man with pointed ears who carries a bag, immediately inquiring if there are any updates regarding recent events. The older man and a concerned maid exchange uneasy glances, clearly troubled by the situation, while Argus remains composed but attentive, sensing tension. Turning slightly away, Argus quietly questions if something has happened, his expression serious as he prepares for potentially troubling news ahead. A formally dressed man apologizes for disturbing the armored Argus Walton despite his obvious fatigue, but Argus calmly assures him that he doesn't mind the interruption. The man leans in to whisper something confidential to Argus, who listens intently without turning away. From a distance, a woman with long blonde hair and a serious expression watches the exchange quietly, arms crossed as she observes the scene below. After hearing the report, Argus acknowledges it with a serious nod, thanking the man and affirming that fulfilling his duty is his priority. Argus Walton, burdened by troubling news, admits the situation is far worse than he initially believed, his expression heavy with concern as he contemplates the gravity of recent events. He learns that invaders have breached even the royal capital, causing chaos and destruction, and wonders how such a breach was possible, highlighting the kingdom's vulnerability. Determined to understand the cause, Argus concludes that the invaders must have been allowed in deliberately, implying a betrayal or conspiracy within the city walls. His suspicion falls on the Harnisk Academy, a place notorious for its strict access control, suggesting that those responsible for the invasion may be connected to this secretive institution, deepening the mystery and threat. Padrak, the guildmaster, urgently declares his need for an ally immediately, signaling a critical moment that demands swift cooperation. Around him, the group, including the MC, the two blue-haired children, and a young woman, raise their hands in acknowledgement, ready to respond to the call for support. 3 days have passed since the bandit subjugation, and the group continues their journey along a rugged mountain path under a bright sky, reflecting a moment of calm after recent turmoil. The blue-haired girl anxiously asks if there will truly be an opportunity for her in the capital, revealing her hopes and uncertainties about the future. The MC reassures her not to worry, showing his confidence in her potential and the path ahead. He encourages her by acknowledging her skills in reading, writing, and arithmetic, assuring her that with these abilities, she will easily find a place and succeed without trouble. The girl brightens up, inspired by his encouragement, lifting her spirits with a determined smile as she calls out to Jean, ready to face the challenges ahead with renewed confidence. The group finally spots the capital in the distance, and the young girl excitedly points it out, signaling their long-awaited arrival. The MC reacts with quiet awe, taking in the sight of the city under the bright sky. From their vantage point, they observe the sprawling capital, its walls and buildings sprawling across the landscape, marking a significant milestone in their journey. As evening falls, the bustling streets of the capital come alive with townsfolk and merchants, welcoming the newcomers into the vibrant heart of the city. The MC marvels at the lively atmosphere of the capital, his companions equally awestruck by the bustling streets and vibrant energy surrounding them. The young girl explains that the capital thrives on imports, making it a hub where everything imaginable eventually arrives, highlighting its importance as a center of trade. She adds that even people from their own Kodama village come to the capital to sell their unique goods, reinforcing the city's role as a marketplace for diverse specialties. The MC acknowledges this fact, recalling her previous mention of it. Observing the crowd, the MC finds the scene fascinating, especially noticing two individuals dressed in insect-like costumes, which piques his curiosity about the city's unique culture and inhabitants. The MC observes the capital's diverse inhabitants, noting it as a true melting pot of races and cultures, reflecting how uniquely the city has evolved over time. He notices the vibrant market stalls filled with goods from all over, emphasizing the city's role as a bustling trade hub where merchants eagerly display their wares. The streets appear spotless and lively, with children playing freely, while the city's law and order seem firmly maintained, creating a safe and welcoming environment. Despite the city's apparent harmony, the MC remains alert and contemplative, sensing that beneath the surface, there may still be challenges ahead. The MC confronts two mermaid-like prisoners sitting on the floor, surrounded by crates of fish and seafood, while a uniformed officer gestures in frustration, indicating a tense interrogation or confrontation. Reflecting quietly, the MC acknowledges that every era carries its own burdens and complexities, hinting at the challenges they face in this time. In the bustling city streets, the MC asks a young girl about the timing of the Academy entrance exam, learning it will take place next week, marking an important upcoming event. As they walk through the city, the MC notes that this timing offers them some breathing room, though classes will begin immediately after results are announced, prompting him to consider the implications of enrolling in Harnisk Academy. A blonde woman with piercing blue eyes and a butterfly hairpin contemplates disdainfully, questioning the worth of runts and half-breeds, revealing her prejudice and the social tensions underlying the story. As dusk settles, the group arrives at a large, welcoming inn, its warm lights glowing invitingly, signaling a moment of rest and transition after their long journey. Inside the inn, the children burst into joyful play, leaping and laughing freely, their carefree energy highlighting a rare moment of happiness and relief from their hardships. The MC finally relaxes on a proper bed, expressing gratitude for the comfort, while the children settle nearby, marking a peaceful pause and a chance to recharge before facing future challenges. The MC reflects on their safe arrival in the capital, acknowledging the significance of reaching this point unscathed, while contemplating the crucial decisions that lie ahead. He considers the practical realities of life in this era, recognizing that money is essential for survival and progress, as he examines a pouch filled with coins. The young girl confidently presents a bag of coins earned from defeating bandits, though she admits this reward is only temporary and won't sustain them indefinitely, hinting at the need for a more stable income. Meanwhile, the blue-haired girl focuses on the two children, determined to find them suitable work to help support their new life in the capital, emphasizing the ongoing challenges of settling into this unfamiliar environment. Argus Walton considers that tracking down a certain man might be the quickest way to achieve his goal, but he realizes that without an insider's help, he won't be able to get past the front door. The MC contemplates deeply, weighing his options carefully as he plans his next move. He debates whether to first investigate the corrupt figures of this era, pondering the best approach to uncover the truth. His thoughts turn to the fact that some people are already trying to exploit these corrupt individuals for their own nefarious purposes, complicating the situation and making his mission even more delicate. The MC stands resolute in a quiet room at dusk, reflecting on the threat posed by corrupt individuals. He knows he cannot ignore their menace and feels compelled to act against them. His expression hardens with determination as he vows not to let history repeat itself, recalling the painful consequences of past failures. Outside, life continues peacefully, underscoring the contrast between his inner resolve and the world around him. Curious about how knowledge is sought in this era, he asks the young girl how people look things up. She explains that they either find a teacher or study books, revealing the traditional ways of learning in this society. The girl admits that education is expensive, recalling how their village pooled resources to afford learning materials. This highlights the challenges they face in accessing knowledge and the sacrifices made to overcome them. The young girl reveals that the capital has a library where the MC can conduct his research, offering a valuable resource for his quest to uncover hidden knowledge. He contemplates this new information thoughtfully, recognizing the library as a potential key to advancing his investigation. With a confident smile, he resolves to make good use of the library, hoping it might even provide clues about the research facility Kagura left behind. Meanwhile, a pink-haired woman firmly refuses an unspecified suggestion, making it clear that whatever was proposed is absolutely unacceptable. The MC explains that the books they seek are national treasures, emphasizing that access to them is highly restricted and not open to just anyone. A pink-haired woman clarifies that entry to the library is strictly limited to students approved by the academy, its faculty and staff, and members of the local nobility, underscoring the exclusivity of this resource. The MC acknowledges this limitation thoughtfully. The man admits with a wry smile that he cannot read the script yet, revealing his current illiteracy and the challenge it poses to his research efforts. Later, by a campfire, he reflects on his recent efforts to learn the alphabet, though he knows it will take time before he can fully comprehend written pages, highlighting his determination to overcome this obstacle. The MC pauses, overwhelmed by the uncertainty of what to do next as two shadowy figures stand behind him, emphasizing his need to make a decisive move in a complex situation. Two hooded individuals preparing for confrontation confirm their target as the group of lowlives with the kids, revealing their intent to confront or capture them. The MC is suddenly addressed by someone asking for his attention, signaling an imminent interaction or challenge that demands his focus. A fierce figure with wolf-like ears aggressively lunges forward to strike the MC, escalating the tension and signaling a sudden attack or conflict. The MC swiftly blocks a powerful strike aimed at him, his focused gaze unwavering as he counters the sudden attack. He remarks dryly on the harshness of the welcome, expressing surprise that the streets, which he assumed were safe, have proven otherwise. The wolf-eared attacker grins fiercely, taunting him by insisting that his assumption about the streets being safe was completely wrong, escalating the tension between them. The MC narrows his eyes, his hand glowing with a golden light as he prepares to respond with his own formidable power. The MC swiftly counters the wolf-eared attacker's strike, blocking the blow with a surge of golden energy that crackles between their hands, demonstrating his growing command over his power. The sudden clash triggers a massive explosion that lights up the sky, sending shockwaves through the town and drawing the horrified attention of nearby residents. The wolf-eared fighter smirks confidently, acknowledging the MC's sharp instincts and readiness, clearly impressed by his ability to anticipate the attack despite the chaos. Nearby, a young girl tightly holds a smaller child, both wide-eyed and alarmed as they realize the dangerous display of divine power is happening openly in broad daylight, signaling the severity of the conflict unfolding around them. The MC confronts two hooded figures who reveal that someone finds his presence bothersome, implying they were hired to deal with him. He deduces that these attackers are indeed mercenaries, hired by an unknown party, and considers this fortunate as it saves him time in uncovering their motives. The wolf-eared man warns that if the MC leaves the capital, he won't have to constantly watch his back, but the MC dismisses the concern, saying he'll only worry when truly in danger. The wolf-eared man suddenly lunges forward aggressively, challenging the MC and escalating the confrontation into a direct fight. The MC narrowly avoids a sudden grab on his wrist, his sharp eyes widening as he quickly assesses the threat. Without hesitation, he counters with a powerful kick that sends his attacker crashing to the ground, leaving the assailant stunned and gasping. The wolf-eared attacker, furious and desperate, channels fiery energy into his hands, preparing a fierce counterattack while shouting a furious insult. Flames burst forth as the attacker unleashes a blazing strike, but the MC remains calm and composed, ready to face the fiery assault with unwavering resolve, while the attacker smirks confidently. The MC unleashes a powerful force with an outstretched hand, stopping the wolf-eared attacker's advance and catching him off guard. The attacker grimaces in pain and struggles as the MC firmly grabs his collar, asserting dominance in the confrontation. Holding the attacker up by his collar, the MC warns him to return only when he is strong enough to pose a real threat, clearly setting a boundary. With a fierce and determined expression, the MC challenges the attacker, daring him to have the courage to face him again if he wishes to continue the fight. The red-haired man with wolf-like ears struggles to find words, shocked to realize that the MC before him is far from the inferior species he assumed, challenging his prejudiced beliefs. Suddenly, a commanding voice cuts through the tension, demanding an immediate halt to the confrontation and ordering everyone to freeze, signaling an authoritative intervention. A woman clad in golden armor steps forward, irritated by the disturbance in the middle of the street on her day off, asserting her authority and preparing to take control of the chaotic situation. She declares that she will be taking all involved into custody, instructing them to prepare for imprisonment as the MC and the red-haired man stand silently, while onlookers watch anxiously. The MC confidently remarks that his loud and flashy approach has succeeded, having just overpowered the wolf-eared attacker, who falls to the ground in shock and pain. The red-haired woman in golden armor screams in fury, demanding retribution against the inferior foe she encountered earlier, her fierce expression and outstretched hand signaling her readiness to engage in battle once more. The woman in golden armor loudly accuses the protagonist of being the same inferior species she encountered before, her voice echoing through the street as a crowd gathers, shocked and uneasy at the harsh insult. Two men lie on the ground nearby, one struggling to rise, while the protagonist stands calmly, unshaken by the accusation. She smirks confidently, her sharp eyes gleaming with challenge and disdain as she brandishes a spear, clearly ready to escalate the confrontation and assert her dominance over him. With a mocking tone, she taunts him for causing a disturbance so soon after arriving in the royal capital, implying he is reckless and disrespectful to the city's order, while the crowd watches tensely from behind her. She continues her scornful tirade, declaring that once someone is an inferior species, they will always remain so, incapable of distinguishing right from wrong. Her words cutting deep as a nearby woman looks on nervously, unable to respond. A woman in a purple dress nervously explains that she just happened to witness the sudden attack on those people, implying she has crucial information about the incident. The armored woman with dog-like ears confidently concludes that the attack was an act of self-defense, showing her analytical approach to the situation. A red-haired man with wolf ears, lying on the ground, is recognized by the armored woman, who notes that he and his companions look familiar, hinting at a deeper connection. The armored woman crouches down and directly accuses the red-haired man of being a student from Harness Academy, confronting him with certainty and challenging his identity. The woman in golden armor sighs with concern, hoping that the young lady is not involved in the recent troubling events. The protagonist questions her mention of the young lady, while she dismisses it as just talking to herself and orders the captives to be taken away. He remarks with a smirk that the Holy Knights also patrol the city, wondering why that duty isn't solely the guild's responsibility. She explains that the royal capital is vast, so the knights assist in maintaining public order, admitting she only happened to pass by while eating her way through town. The woman with sharp eyes reflects silently, acknowledging that despite everything, the man before her remains incredibly strong. She admits that even the academy students from earlier were no weaklings, but this man's power surpasses them all, impressing her deeply. As she turns to leave, she warns him not to cause too much trouble in the royal capital, signaling a cautious respect despite their tense encounter. Suddenly, she halts and asks him to wait, requesting that he show her a particular place, indicating a shift from confrontation to cooperation. The woman in golden armor turns back and asks if there is a specific place she should be shown, signaling a shift toward cooperation and a willingness to follow guidance. Night falls over a grand estate, its lights glowing warmly under the starry sky, establishing the setting as the Argus estate. The protagonist sits confidently, hands clasped, and firmly demands to be hired, showing his serious intent and readiness to engage professionally. Argus Walton, surprised and uneasy, recalls that he had invited this man to visit if he ever needed help, indicating a prior connection and the beginning of a potential alliance. Argus Walton notices the group gathered before him and comments on how their numbers seem to have increased since their last meeting, prompting a calm acknowledgement that the change just happened recently. The armored man explains that they encountered the bandits Argus had warned him about and rescued those who were being held captive, revealing the recent danger they faced. Argus asks about the fate of the bandits, suggesting they should be beaten up a bit and then left to the guild to handle, showing his pragmatic approach to justice. Argus processes this information with surprise, realizing that the armored man must have dealt with the entire situation on his own, highlighting his impressive capability and independence. The MC explains that the girls have no family and belong to what others call an inferior species, revealing the harsh reality they face. The two children sit nervously, clearly affected by this truth. He continues, saying he wanted to at least find them a place to work, showing his desire to provide them with some stability despite their difficult circumstances. The armored woman and Argus Walton question whether he truly has any obligation to care for them, but he firmly states that this is simply his way of doing things, emphasizing his personal sense of responsibility. The protagonist asserts that regardless of how it happened, he is the one who saved the girls and refuses to do a half-hearted job, vowing to look after them until the very end, demonstrating his unwavering commitment to their well-being. Argus Walton listens thoughtfully while the armored woman with dog-like ears speaks energetically beside him, showing a mix of curiosity and surprise at the unfolding conversation. Meanwhile, the two children with bright blue eyes sit together, their expressions filled with hopeful anticipation. Argus calmly decides that the two children can stay and work as live-in servants, offering them a stable place in the estate, which brings a spark of joy and disbelief to the older child's face. However, Argus immediately adds there is a condition attached to this arrangement, his sharp gaze signaling that this opportunity comes with responsibilities. He then reveals his true intention. He wants the protagonist to become an instructor, surprising him with the unexpected request and hinting at a deeper plan to involve him more closely in training or guiding others. The young boy and the maid stand together, both dressed in formal attire, their expressions a mix of nervousness and excitement as they prepare to take on their new roles in the estate. The protagonist confidently remarks that they look the part, prompting admiration and applause from the young woman beside him, signaling approval and encouragement. The maid bows deeply to Argus Walton, expressing heartfelt gratitude for the opportunity, while Argus humbly insists that thanks are unnecessary, showing his modesty and sense of duty. Argus firmly entrusts the education of the two children to the maid and butler, warning them not to discriminate against the children despite their status as an inferior species, and both caretakers acknowledge his command with respect and understanding. As they prepare to leave, the protagonist, the armored woman, the maid, and the two children wave their thanks, their expressions a mix of gratitude and determination, signaling a hopeful new beginning. The protagonist immediately questions if there is an ulterior motive behind his appointment as an instructor, showing his suspicion and sharp insight into the situation. The blonde knight acknowledges the suspicion but expresses his trust in the protagonist's character, asking him sincerely to accept the role despite not knowing his full, emphasizing faith over doubt. A grand, illuminated academy at night, where the knight reveals the true purpose. The protagonist must go undercover at Harnisk Academy, setting the stage for a covert mission that carries significant weight. The protagonist questions the meaning behind the knight's words, seeking clarity about the situation. The knight explains that the country is currently under threat from multiple factions competing for supremacy, prompting the man to ask about the king's status. The knight reveals that the king is gravely ill and nearing the end of his life, which has triggered a secretive battle for succession among those close to the throne. The knight warns that the real danger lies in those without a legitimate claim to the throne who are scheming to seize control of the country, illustrating their dark influence over the land's fate. Argus Walton reveals that the invaders are being used to drag innocent people into chaos, highlighting a sinister strategy to destabilize the realm. The protagonist processes this information, realizing that the threat extends beyond just the Lord, as dangerous individuals are also manipulating events behind the scenes. Argus explains that these dangerous figures are operating covertly within the royal capital, emphasizing the urgency to uncover their hideout quickly to prevent further harm. The conversation concludes with Argus confirming that the most suspicious location for these conspirators is Harnisk Academy, setting the stage for their next move to investigate this critical place. Argus Walton firmly knocks on the door, announcing his intention to enter without hesitation. He opens the grand doors confidently, revealing the young girl beside him as he prepares to step inside. Argus introduces a poised blonde woman seated elegantly, explaining she is his younger sister, Milia Ultons, who attends Harnisk Academy and will guide them from within. Milia turns to face Argus and the others, addressing him as brother, confirming their familial bond and adding a personal dimension to the mission ahead. Milia Ultons confronts the idea of entrusting the Academy infiltration to an inferior species, clearly skeptical and critical of the plan, questioning if Argus truly intends to hand over such a crucial task to them. Argus Walton sharply reprimands Milia, demanding respect and pointing out that the real disrespect lies in the mere existence of the inferior species, challenging her prejudiced attitude. The protagonist reflects on the situation, acknowledging he might tolerate a simple country girl, but insists that this mission cannot be entrusted to someone of an inferior species, emphasizing the gravity and exclusivity of the task. The protagonist sarcastically comments on Milia's prejudice, while she looks frustrated, and he quickly apologizes, asking her not to take offense, highlighting the tension and underlying biases between them as they navigate this delicate mission. The protagonist points out that although the young lady is exceptionally gifted, she harbors an extreme prejudice against inferior species, to which the armored woman sharply retorts that he shares the same bias. The blonde woman, holding a fan, asks her brother if he understands the gravity of the situation, emphasizing the importance of his role and the expectations placed upon him. She stresses that this mission is more than just an infiltration. He must also fulfill his duties as an instructor, highlighting the dual responsibility he carries within the academy. The blonde woman confidently declares her disbelief that an inferior species could serve as an instructor unless they truly possess the aptitude for it, challenging the protagonist to prove his capability despite the prejudice against him. The young girl bluntly reveals that Jean cannot read, causing the protagonist to worry about this secret being exposed. Milia firmly declares that such a limitation is unacceptable, emphasizing the seriousness of the matter. The girl insists that despite Jin's illiteracy, there are invaluable lessons only he can teach, highlighting his unique and exceptional qualities. Milia silently contemplates this, holding her fan thoughtfully as she faces the protagonist, acknowledging the complexity of the situation without immediate response. Milia acknowledges that the protagonist has enough strength to maintain order among the academy students, hinting at her recognition of his capability despite previous doubts. She reminds him that being an instructor demands more than just physical power, emphasizing the importance of wisdom and leadership in his role. The group reacts as the door closes behind them, with Argus rubbing his forehead in frustration while the others look on, signaling the tension and challenges ahead. A female knight admits that the recent student disturbances were orchestrated by Milia herself, revealing her influence and control over the situation within the academy. Argus apologizes for the disruption caused by Milia and promises to reprimand her properly later, while the protagonist reassures him that it's fine, showing a moment of understanding despite the tension. The protagonist questions Argus about the specifics of his role as an instructor, asking what exactly he was expected to teach, signaling his desire to clarify his responsibilities. Argus reveals that the subject he is supposed to teach is spirit magic, acknowledging the protagonist's expertise and setting the focus of his instruction. The protagonist reflects on the scope of his teaching, stating that covering the basics of spirit magic is sufficient, indicating his pragmatic approach to the task ahead. The four fundamental types of spirit magic, ignition, discharge, freezing, and healing, are introduced as the essential skills to master. It is explained that being proficient in just two of these basic magics is sufficient for the role of instructor. The protagonist questions if that is truly all there is to spirit magic, prompting Argus Walton to react with surprise and ask what he means by all, hinting at deeper complexities beyond the basics. The protagonist wonders aloud if Argus can also wield special spirit magic, a rare and difficult form that only a select few can handle, showing his curiosity and skepticism about Argus's true capabilities. Argus contemplates whether the notorious bandit, known for his exceptional skills, might have been considered extraordinary in this era, reflecting on the rarity and significance of special spirit magic users in their current time. The protagonist finds the situation intriguing, his expression shifting to a subtle smile as he acknowledges the challenge ahead. He calmly agrees to proceed, signaling his readiness to engage with the complexities before him. With a confident resolve, he declares his intention to overturn the prevailing common sense of the era, beginning to channel a glowing, ethereal energy in his hands. He promises to change the world, even if only just a little, setting the stage for a transformative journey. 1 week has passed, and the day of the entrance exam at Harnisk Academy arrives, with the Grand Academy gates opening to welcome a crowd of hopeful candidates. Among the applicants, a cheerful Academy staff member hands out exam admission papers to nervous students, signaling the start of the important day. Inside the exam hall, a young candidate diligently writes their exam answers, fully focused on the task despite the pressure surrounding them. Meanwhile, Argus Walton, accompanied by 2 men, strides confidently down a grand hallway, greeting the attendees and expressing gratitude for their participation in the Academy's entrance exam. The older man explains that even among the Holy Knights, the 7th unit is especially busy, but urges the others to consider it normal since it is simply their turn to take on this responsibility. Argus Walton and the MC listen attentively as the weight of this duty is acknowledged. The MC questions the phrase "your turn," prompting Argus to clarify that once a year, a member of the Holy Knights is assigned to serve as the Academy's special instructor, and this year, that role falls to the 7th unit. Argus's calm explanation helps the MC understand the tradition and the significance of their current position. Our boy reflects inwardly, doubting whether someone like himself is truly suitable for this important role, his expression showing a mix of uncertainty and contemplation as he processes the responsibility ahead. Meanwhile, Argus remains composed, aware of the challenges but ready to face them. The MC directly asks Argus if this is indeed their turn, seeking confirmation, while Argus looks back at him with a steady gaze, affirming the reality of their duty and the path they must now follow together. The MC contemplates deeply, his expression serious and focused as he prepares for what lies ahead. The older man with animal-like ears remains silent, his thoughtful gaze suggesting he is weighing the gravity of the situation. The older man finally breaks the silence, inviting the MC to follow him, signaling that it is time to proceed. As the door opens, the older man informs him that the headmaster and others are waiting, indicating the importance of the upcoming meeting and the next step in the MC's journey. The headmaster sits thoughtfully, his hands clasped before his face, exuding a calm yet commanding presence as he prepares to address the visitors. Argus Walton bows respectfully, acknowledging the headmaster after a long absence, while the MC follows silently behind, observing the solemn atmosphere. The headmaster remarks on Argus's rapid rise and distinction since graduating as valedictorian, highlighting his notable achievements in a short time. A subordinate expresses gratitude for Argus's cooperation, to which Argus humbly responds that fulfilling this duty is simply his responsibility, underscoring his sense of honor and commitment. The headmaster, seated with a composed demeanor, acknowledges having heard many rumors about the challenges facing the academy. Argus listens intently as the headmaster points out that besides battling corrupt forces, Argus is also caught in internal factional disputes, complicating his duties. The headmaster expresses understanding of Argus's limited manpower and how busy he must be managing these multiple conflicts simultaneously. Despite these difficulties, the headmaster firmly insists that the academy must not be neglected, emphasizing the importance of maintaining its standards and care. The MC questions whether they truly intend to appoint a certain individual as an instructor at the academy, his tone carrying disbelief and concern. In a formal chamber, 3 authoritative figures stand and sit with serious expressions, underscoring the gravity of the decision being discussed. The MC, now composed, asks the others to put their minds at ease, signaling his intent to reassure them despite the tension. Standing behind Argus Walton, the MC affirms that Argus is more capable than anyone else in the 7th unit, emphasizing his confidence in Argus's qualifications for the instructor role. Argus Walton asserts that when it comes to combat skills, at least, he is confident in his abilities. The headmaster, with a calm and contemplative demeanor, accepts this claim, trusting Argus's judgment. However, a stern voice interrupts, objecting loudly and demanding to know what will be done about the controversial situation. The objection centers on the fact that in this sacred academy of tradition, it is unprecedented and unacceptable for an inferior species to be allowed to teach, highlighting the deep-rooted prejudice and tension surrounding the appointment. A furious man with wolf-like ears vehemently declares that such a duty is unfit for an inferior species, accusing the decision-makers of bringing shame upon them. The seated lord acknowledges Lord Gita's statement and turns to Lord Ludman, seeking his opinion on the matter. Lord Ludman, a stout man with fox-like ears, agrees with Lord Gita, emphasizing that the academy hosts many noble-born students. He further explains that if an inferior species were allowed to teach, it would inevitably cause backlash from both students and instructors, highlighting the deep-seated resistance to change within the academy. The elder with pointed ears acknowledges the difficult emotions surrounding the controversy, but insists that despite personal feelings, the matter must be addressed pragmatically. The MC steps forward, inviting Argus to share his perspective on the situation, signaling a willingness to listen and understand all sides. As he approaches, the MC prepares to formally introduce himself, showing respect and seriousness about the discussion ahead. Bowing deeply, he apologizes for the delayed introduction and reveals that he is Shido Jin from Kodama village, establishing his identity and origin to those present. The elder acknowledges that despite the mockery he faces, Argus remains remarkably composed, showing a calm strength that commands respect. He expresses understanding of the concerns raised about Argus's appointment. Argus then poses a critical question, challenging the prejudice directly. Is he unfit to be an instructor because he belongs to an inferior species, or because he lacks the necessary ability? The question hangs heavily in the room, forcing everyone to confront their biases as Argus demands clarity on whether merit or prejudice should decide his fate. The elder finally responds firmly, declaring that it is obviously the latter. Ability is what truly matters, and if one has the necessary skill, nothing else should stand in the way. The elder challenges Argus directly, asking if he can prove that he truly possesses the ability required for the instructor role, pressing him to demonstrate his competence beyond mere claims. Confident and composed, Argus proposes putting his skills to the test, suggesting that a practical demonstration will settle any doubts about his qualifications once and for all. The Harness Academy Spirit Magic Practice Field, a vast arena surrounded by nature and mountains, setting the stage for the upcoming trial to validate Argus's abilities. An official explains that since the day is reserved for entrance exams, the practice field is nearly empty, providing an ideal and undistracted environment for Argus to prove himself without interference. A man with wolf-like ears smirks confidently, telling Argus that at least he will be spared any public embarrassment, implying the upcoming trial will settle doubts without humiliation. Argus remains silent, his expression calm and unreadable, showing his steady resolve as he prepares for the challenge ahead. The elder formally states the rules of the trial. Argus must fight using only spirit magic, emphasizing the focus on his true ability in this test. The elder explains that Argus is meant to be a spirit magic instructor and that witnessing his actual strength firsthand is the best way to judge his qualifications, setting the stage for the decisive demonstration. Students gather in the hallway, whispering anxiously about a mock battle taking place, their curiosity piqued by the unusual event unfolding within the academy. Milia Ulton stands among them, her expression serious and contemplative as she processes the significance of the fight. Milia reflects silently, admitting this might be the first time she has witnessed Mr. Gita engage in combat, revealing her surprise and the rarity of such an occurrence. Meanwhile, the MC, calm and collected, dismisses the situation as pointless, his demeanor showing a mix of boredom and quiet confidence as he prepares for what is to come. Above the arena, 3 authoritative figures, including Argus Walton, the Guildmaster Padrak, and another dignitary, watch intently, challenging the notion of an inferior species by declaring they will now see what such a being is truly capable of, setting the stage for the decisive test of Argus's abilities. Argus admits this is the first time he will actually witness the fight, revealing a rare moment of anticipation and seriousness from him. The narration explains that the physical abilities of an inferior species are naturally low, and even if they possess divine power, their strength remains minimal, underscoring the prejudice and limitations imposed on them. As the arena fills with tension, the challenger expresses hope that his previous assessment of Argus's abilities was accurate, signaling the importance of this trial and the weight of expectations resting on Argus. The challenger, with a sinister smile, asks if Argus is prepared, his expression hinting at a confident and possibly malicious intent as the trial is about to begin. The challenger boldly declares his intent to strike first, unleashing a massive fiery spirit magic attack aimed directly at Argus. Argus swiftly evades the explosive assault, landing gracefully on the ground as the blast erupts behind him, demonstrating his agility and composure under pressure. Nearby students watch in awe and surprise, their expressions a mix of shock and excitement as the trial's intensity becomes clear. The challenger smirks confidently, noting that some students are indeed watching the fight, and then summons crackling golden lightning around his hand, preparing for his next powerful move. The challenger unleashes a fierce barrage of golden lightning spirit magic, shouting a battle cry as the energy surges forward with overwhelming force. Argus narrowly dodges the explosive assault, twisting midair to avoid the deadly strike while the challenger presses the attack relentlessly. The challenger sneers, dismissing Argus's evasive maneuvers as mere fleeing, labeling him a typical inferior species incapable of true resistance. Despite not becoming a holy knight, the challenger boasts of his past as the Academy's valedictorian, wielding his spirit magic with confident precision to prove his superiority. The challenger unleashes a fierce burst of fiery spirit magic, declaring that an inferior species like Argus is no match for him, his confidence radiating as he channels overwhelming destructive power. Argus responds with a sharp exhalation, gathering his own energy as he prepares to counterattack, his focus intensifying in the heat of battle. He reflects internally that his power was never meant to be used against people, yet circumstances force him to wield it now, his resolve hardening as he confronts the challenge. With determination, Argus launches himself forward, moving swiftly through the debris and dust of the arena, accepting that this confrontation cannot be avoided as he braces for the next clash. Argus concentrates deeply, channeling his spirit magic as a glowing, intricate energy sphere forms in his hand, signaling the start of his counterattack. With unwavering determination, he declares his intent to reveal the true extent of his power, his aura intensifying and crackling with raw energy. The arena's protective barrier begins to crack and fracture under the overwhelming force of Argus's spirit magic, causing alarm and confusion among the onlookers. The challenger is violently thrown backward as the barrier shatters, his shocked expression revealing he did not anticipate the full strength of Argus's abilities. The two observers, one with fox-like ears and the other with sharp elven features, react with shock and disbelief to the sudden overwhelming display of power that just occurred in the arena. Argus Walton, visibly tense and sweating, struggles to comprehend the unexpected turn of events, his usual composure shaken by the sheer force unleashed. Milia Ultons, equally stunned, instinctively steps back, her wide eyes reflecting the gravity of the situation and the dangerous unknown that has just been revealed. Meanwhile, the challenger lies on the ground, surrounded by crackling dark energy and fractures in the arena floor, desperately questioning what just happened as the aftermath of Argus's power leaves everyone in stunned silence. The challenger reveals he subtly manipulated the gravity around Argus, explaining that the spirit magic used was unfamiliar to him, which caused the unexpected disruption. Smiling with a hint of arrogance, the challenger acknowledges the Academy's shortcomings, implying that there is much he can teach to improve the students' understanding and skills. Confident and energized, he asserts that his lessons will benefit not only the students but everyone present, signaling his intent to reshape the Academy's approach to spirit magic and power. Standing calmly in the center of the arena, the challenger watches as a shattered, glowing barrier crackles with dark energy, signaling the aftermath of the intense clash. The challenger smirks confidently, manipulating the dark energy around him as the defeated opponent struggles in pain, overwhelmed by the power he cannot control. With a sharp snap of his fingers, the challenger asserts his dominance, signaling that the battle is far from over and that he holds the upper hand. The defeated opponent, struggling to rise amidst the cracked ground, glares fiercely despite his weakened state, determined not to concede even as the challenger's power looms over him. The defeated man, shocked and sweating, demands to know what Argus did, angrily dismissing spirit magic as insignificant. He accuses Argus of using some underhanded trick, claiming he's never heard of such spirit magic before, while Argus calmly tells him to hold on. The challenger continues to rant and gesture wildly, causing the ground beneath him to crack, as two observers watch the confrontation unfold. Argus, flanked by two other officials, calmly declares the matter settled, and the others agree, acknowledging the undeniable display of power. The students gather in uneasy silence, their expressions a mix of shock and curiosity as they process the extraordinary display of spirit magic they just witnessed. Milia Ultons, still visibly shaken, acknowledges that the power Argus used was unlike any spirit magic they've encountered before, her mind racing to understand its implications. She questions why such a unique power would manifest in someone from an inferior species, noting that their sacred power should be nearly non-existent compared to those blessed by spirits. Her intense gaze sharpens as she contemplates the mystery, determined to uncover the truth behind this unprecedented phenomenon. Our MC is confronted aggressively by a man with fox-like ears, who demands to know the true nature of this mysterious individual. The MC remains calm and composed, telling the other to settle down, hinting at his control over the situation despite the hostility. Time passes, and a grand, fortified academy nestled among mountains and forests, signaling a new chapter. A narration reveals that although the academy teaches academic subjects, its true purpose is far more significant and focused. Inside a large auditorium filled with attentive students, a speaker addresses the crowd, explaining that the academy's real mission is to train warriors capable of defending against invaders, emphasizing the gravity of their training and the looming threats they face. Among the students, two young girls listen intently as it is made clear that those who fail to keep up with the academy's rigorous standards will be mercilessly expelled, underscoring the harsh reality and high stakes of their education. An elderly woman addresses the students, explaining that graduating from this academy will make joining the prestigious Holy Knights a realistic goal rather than just a dream, inspiring hope and ambition among them. From the stage, she emphasizes that success depends entirely on each student's ability, underscoring the academy's merit-based system and the importance of personal effort in achieving their dreams. Observing from a balcony, Milia Ultons and two others note the large number of freshmen this year, commenting that many appear to be commoners, hinting at a shift in the academy's demographics and possibly its future challenges. A hand reaches out to get Milia's attention, but she remains focused and silent, her expression unreadable as she contemplates the implications of the new students and what lies ahead. Reyes greets warmly, noting how unusual it is for someone to attend the entrance ceremony, especially since he thought they weren't interested in others. Milia responds playfully, suggesting that if there are famous nobles among the freshmen, anyone would want to befriend them, implying Reyes is no different. Reyes suddenly becomes serious and curious, asking what Milia means by that, signaling a shift in his mood. Meanwhile, a group of instructors sits in the auditorium, and one questions why an inferior species is occupying the instructor's seats, pointing out that this individual is an instructor despite their lower status. Reyes reacts with shock and demands to know what Milia thinks of a certain man, his voice sharp and urgent. Milia remains composed, holding a fan, and asks Reyes calmly what his perspective is on the man in question. He hesitates, sweat forming on his brow as he struggles to answer, admitting that even if asked directly, he finds it difficult to form an opinion. Milia bluntly states her conclusion, declaring the man to be just an inferior species, confirming her suspicions with a firm expression. Below them, a figure with white hair watches silently from the crowd, his gaze fixed upward toward the balcony where Reyes and Milia stand, the atmosphere tense and filled with unspoken questions. The MC reflects on the vastness of the academy, realizing that thoroughly investigating it will require considerable time and effort. Despite his resolve, he admits that the piercing stares from others cause him pain, and he knows he must first dismantle the prejudiced image of being an inferior species before he can move forward. He acknowledges that his current presence makes him stand out too much, causing others to view him as the most suspicious person in the academy rather than focusing on his investigation, which complicates his mission. Outside, the grand and imposing academy building stands tall under a clear sky, symbolizing the formidable challenge and new chapter that awaits within its walls. The lecture resumes with an announcement that spirit magic classes will begin today, signaling a return to rigorous training. Milia and Reyes sit among the students, attentive as the session starts. The speaker warns the students not to be overtaken by the freshmen and to remain vigilant, though he acknowledges that elite class students likely don't need such reminders, highlighting the competitive atmosphere. A sly smile appears as the speaker hints at a deeper meaning behind his words, suggesting there is more to the situation than meets the eye. The speaker points out the noticeably low attendance, questioning the students' motivation and challenging them to prove their dedication despite the sparse crowd, emphasizing the importance of commitment in their studies. Milia Ultons calmly affirms her agreement with a composed expression, signaling her certainty and readiness. A sneering instructor mocks the idea of listening to someone from an inferior species, revealing the deep-seated prejudice and disdain within the academy. The MC stands silently beside the mocking instructor, who admits to spreading rumors that today's lecture would be led by an inferior species, ensuring the students' disinterest. The instructor then invites the MC to introduce himself, addressing him as Professor Jean, marking the start of his challenging role despite the hostility he faces. Shidu Jean introduces himself confidently to the class, acknowledging that he will be their instructor for spirit magic and signaling the start of his teaching role. He formally announces that he will be teaching spirit magic for a while, setting the tone for the upcoming lessons. Reyes, sitting among the students, questions Jin's capability to handle the job, expressing doubt and challenging the new instructor's competence. He crosses his arms and demands proof that Jean can truly manage the responsibilities of teaching, showing skepticism and putting Jean on the spot. Shidu Jean calmly tells the class that whether they find value in his lessons is entirely up to them, showing confidence and leaving the choice in their hands. Reyes smirks and challenges Jin's statement, teasing that if the class holds no value, students can simply skip it, testing Jin's resolve. Jin's expression darkens as he emphasizes there is one crucial rule he wants everyone to follow, signaling a serious turn in his teaching approach. He conjures a glowing magical symbol in his hand, demanding the students promise to adhere to his rule, underscoring the importance of discipline and commitment in his class. Spirit magic possesses the unique ability to suppress the invader's extraordinary regenerative powers, making it a critical tool against them. However, this suppression effect does not work on the human body, meaning injuries inflicted will remain as wounds rather than healing instantly. Shidu Jean explains that this power was specifically created to eliminate corruptors, emphasizing its intended purpose and the seriousness of its use. Milia Ultons listens intently, her expression serious as she urges everyone to respect the power and warns against misusing it, highlighting the responsibility that comes with such strength. A student with animal ears mockingly questions the idea of not using spirit magic, revealing his intent to see what kind of lecture an inferior species would give, exposing the deep prejudice and skepticism toward the new instructor. He challenges the notion of avoiding spirit magic, implying that those opposing it are powerless and unwilling to be compared, further belittling the instructor and stirring doubt among the students. The classroom reacts with laughter and smirks, showing that many students share the same dismissive attitude, while Milia and Reyes maintain serious, unimpressed expressions, highlighting the divide in respect and belief in the instructor's authority. The student bluntly states that power is power, questioning the instructor's intelligence, reinforcing the hostile environment Jean faces as he tries to assert control and respect in his spirit magic class. Shidu Jean remains calm and composed despite the mocking laughter around him, showing no sign of intimidation. He challenges his doubters directly, daring them to test his power if they believe he lacks any. Jean invites the students to use their strongest abilities and attack him, confidently standing his ground in the nearly empty lecture hall. He promises that if anyone manages to injure him, he will never return to teach again, raising the stakes and demanding respect through a bold test of strength. A sly smile spreads across the face of the student with animal ears, signaling his eagerness to prove a point through action rather than words. He unleashes a fierce burst of spirit magic, warning the class not to regret their choices and declaring that backing out now is impossible, escalating the tension in the room. Shidujin remains calm and unshaken, while another student urgently pleads for the reckless attacker to stop, fearing for his own safety amidst the chaotic magic. The aggressive student charges forward with a wild grin, shouting a challenge as he launches a powerful spirit magic attack directly at Jin, forcing the instructor to respond to the threat head-on. The student with animal ears launches a massive, blazing spirit magic attack directly at Shidujin, who stands firm and unflinching, ready to face the onslaught head-on. The fiery beam crashes into the ground with explosive force, sending debris and smoke billowing, demonstrating the overwhelming power behind the attack. The attacker grins confidently, clearly enjoying the challenge and certain of his dominance, while the classroom watches tensely. In response, Jin summons a sharp, glowing blade of spirit magic, preparing to counter the fierce assault with precision and strength. The blazing spirit magic attack soars through the air, crashing into the ground with tremendous force, causing the floor to crack and debris to scatter as the students watch in shock and awe. The student who launched the attack reacts with surprise and alarm as the impact causes unexpected damage to the ceiling above, signaling that the attack's power may have unintended consequences. Shidujin reveals his true strength by activating a powerful spirit magic shield, calmly stating that if he had intended to, the attack would have ended the challenger immediately, demonstrating his overwhelming control and power. Jin warns the class that judging others by appearances alone is a fatal mistake, reinforcing the lesson that true strength and skill lie beneath the surface. As he stands confidently behind his protective barrier, commanding respect and attention, Reyes is stunned, sweating as he questions what he just witnessed, wondering if that was truly spirit magic, revealing his shock at the unexpected display of power. A student with ram-like horns nervously confronts the instructor, accusing him of calling him an inferior species, but admitting that since the instructor is stronger, he demands to know what he should be called instead, stirring unease among the other students. Shidujin calmly raises his hand, preparing to answer the challenge with confidence, signaling that he will provide the definitive response to the student's question. Jin declares firmly that the proper title for him is teacher, asserting his authority and demanding respect from the class, solidifying his position despite the earlier hostility. Shidujin confronts the class with a sharp question, demanding if they even know the conditions required to activate spirit magic, challenging their understanding and readiness. He directly accuses one student of attacking him and insists on an answer, pressing the class to acknowledge their actions and the consequences. The student, caught off guard, nervously responds that spirit magic is just about visualization, revealing a shallow grasp of the complex art. Jin pushes further, explaining that spirit magic requires raising divine power, picturing the desired force, projecting it to the spirits, and manifesting it, emphasizing that this is the fundamental principle the students must grasp. Shidujin acknowledges that visualization is important for spirit magic, but clarifies that it alone is not the key to activating it. He explains that spirits or nanomachines require receiving a specific wavelength to unleash their power, demonstrating this by summoning glowing energy in his hand. A student with animal ears reacts with surprise and confusion upon hearing about the concept of wavelength, while Jin continues to explain that there are 8 fundamental wavelengths. Jin illustrates the concept by manifesting 2 of these wavelengths as elemental powers, fire and lightning, showing the tangible forms that spirit magic can take when properly activated. The instructor demonstrates 2 more fundamental spirit magic wavelengths, wind and freezing, showing how these elemental forces can be conjured and controlled. He reminds the students that they should already be familiar with these basics. Milia Ultons and Reyes exchange surprised and uneasy glances as the instructor hints that beyond these known elements, there are additional, more complex wavelengths they must understand. Their expressions reveal growing concern and realization of the depth of knowledge required. The instructor reveals 2 advanced spirit magic manipulations, gravity manipulation and light intensity manipulation, illustrating the immense power and versatility spirit magic can wield beyond elemental forces. These examples deepen the student's understanding of spirit magic's potential. He continues by introducing atmospheric pressure manipulation and references the mysterious power he demonstrated earlier, emphasizing that mastering these diverse wavelengths is crucial for true mastery of spirit magic, leaving the students to absorb the overwhelming scope of what lies ahead. Shidujin conjures a glowing, geometric shield and names it space protection, demonstrating a sophisticated form of spirit magic that manipulates spatial boundaries. A shocked student with animal ears realizes the implications, exclaiming in disbelief that mastering these basics means being able to wield 8 distinct types of spirit magic. Jin explains that visualization is crucial for spirit magic, using the earlier example of how the student transformed energy into a spear and launched it, emphasizing the importance of mental imagery in controlling magic. His expression turns serious as he commands the class to focus, signaling that the lesson is about to deepen and that they must prepare for what comes next. Jin confidently invites the class to begin the lesson, his calm demeanor signaling a shift to a more serious and focused phase of instruction. As he walks through the academy's grand corridors, students move about their daily routines, unaware of his keen observation. Jin reflects on his need to investigate the sprawling academy, noting the challenge posed by the teacher he has encountered, hinting at a deeper intrigue within the school. Despite the constant presence of students everywhere he goes, Jin admits he finds nothing suspicious, underscoring his careful scrutiny and the subtlety of the mysteries he seeks to uncover. Jin decides he must find a place within the academy where students are not allowed, signaling his need for privacy and secrecy. Milia Ulton stands nearby, arms crossed, her expression unreadable as the sun sets behind them. Their eyes meet in a tense moment, both scrutinizing each other silently, revealing an unspoken challenge and curiosity about each other's true intentions. Milia breaks the silence by directly questioning Jin's true identity, demanding to know who he really is, indicating her suspicion and the gravity of their encounter. Jin walks past her calmly, unfazed by her confrontation, showing confidence and control over the situation. Jin smirks and confronts Milia with a sharp observation, stating she and her kind are not just ordinary inferior species, but something different and abnormal. Milia reacts with a mix of surprise and indignation, admitting the truth in his words, acknowledging her uniqueness, and the tension between them deepens. Milia Ultons firmly states that no inferior species could possibly handle all types of spirit magic, implying a fundamental limitation based on species. Jin reminds her that he taught the class earlier that anyone can use all spirit magic types if they can switch between wavelengths, but Milia warns him not to make it sound so simple. Milia argues that if it were truly possible to master all spirit magic, the person doing so wouldn't be attracting so much attention, as murmurs of disbelief ripple among nearby students. Jin suggests moving somewhere else, and Milia leads the way, signaling a shift to a more private or serious conversation away from prying eyes. The fading light of sunset casts a serene glow over the academy's courtyard, setting a quiet, contemplative mood as the conversation between Milia Ultons and Jin continues. Milia turns to Jin with a sharp, expectant gaze, demanding that he finally answer her pressing questions, her tone firm and unyielding. Jin calmly reveals that he is an ancient human who has been asleep in Kodama village for 100 million years, a statement met with Milia's skeptical but amused response, calling him a good joker. Milia presses further, her curiosity piqued as she asks Jin what he was doing 100 million years ago, signaling the conversation's shift toward uncovering his mysterious past. Jin reveals that he was an agent, hinting at a complex past filled with many responsibilities. Milia Ultons questions the meaning of agent, prompting Jin to explain that it means someone who works tirelessly and selflessly for their country. Jin reflects on his past battles, admitting he fought countless villains, showing the depth of his experience and dedication. A flashback shows three men in military attire sharing a moment, emphasizing that despite the vast time of 100 million years ago, Jin's memories and identity as an agent remain vivid and significant. He vividly recalls a past mission, where a detailed attack strategy was laid out to his team, highlighting his leadership and tactical planning. As gunfire erupts, he takes cover, fully immersed in the dangerous operation. The memory intensifies as he charges forward amidst explosions, his expression calm yet determined, revealing a complex mix of skill and emotion tied to this moment. He admits that the memory feels nostalgic, suggesting a deep personal connection to his past battles. Milia confronts him, questioning how someone like him could have ended up sleeping for 100 million years. He answers honestly that he failed, implying a significant mistake or loss that led to his long slumber. Reflecting on his failure, he confesses to being arrogant enough to believe he could handle everything alone, revealing a moment of humility and regret that shaped his current state. Jin admits that as a result of his failure, he lost everything without being able to do a single thing, the scene showing ominous, dark creatures amidst a ruined cityscape symbolizing the devastation tied to his past mistakes. Milia listens intently as Jin explains that the reason he took the lecturer job was so he could rely on the students for help if necessary, though he confesses uncertainty about how much of that reasoning is actually true. Jin asks Milia where they are heading, to which she responds that she is simply fulfilling her duty as a guide, keeping the purpose of their journey straightforward and professional. They enter a dim, abandoned room filled with old furniture and cobwebs, their shadows cast on the floor as Jin begins to speak, signaling the start of a significant revelation or discovery in this secluded place. Jin questions the purpose of the room they have entered, and Milia explains that it is where lecturers store their class materials, indicating a place filled with knowledge and resources. He contemplates the room's function, confirming it as a storage space, his expression thoughtful as he processes this information. He notices a small wooden owl figurine among the dusty shelves, its presence catching his attention and hinting at a deeper significance or hidden clue. His gaze sharpens with intense focus, suggesting that the discovery of the owl has triggered a serious realization or connection related to his past or current mission. Jean questions why they have come to this place, and Milia reveals she has been conducting her own investigation, implying she has uncovered something important on her own. Milia shows Jean a rough floor plan, explaining there is an unnatural space adjacent to the room they are in, large enough to contain an entire hidden room, suggesting a secret area nearby. Jean examines the shelves carefully, acknowledging the suspicious nature of the space and concluding that if anything is hidden here, it must be in that concealed spot Milia pointed out. Suddenly, a hidden passageway opens behind the bookshelf, revealing a dark stairwell descending downward, confirming their suspicions and signaling the discovery of a secret hidden beneath the room. Shidu Jean confirms that Milia's deduction about the secret space was accurate, acknowledging her insight as they stand at the entrance of the hidden stairwell. Milia, surprised, asks how Jean knew about the concealed area, prompting him to explain that despite the dust covering the room, the spot itself was unusually clean. Jean points out the oddly spotless area around the wooden owl figurine, attributing his discovery to a combination of observation and intuition honed by experience. He decides to investigate the hidden room alone, instructing Milia to wait outside, but she insists on accompanying him, showing her determination to be involved despite his warning. Jean warns Milia that if anything lies within the hidden room, it would be a corruptor, emphasizing the danger involved, while Milia, slightly annoyed, insists he shouldn't underestimate her. Milia defends herself, asserting her academic excellence and skills that rival her brother's, trying to prove she is capable and not to be looked down upon. Jean, smiling with newfound trust, agrees to believe in her abilities and decides to trust her judgment despite the risks. Together, they cautiously descend the dark stairwell, with Jean illuminating their path using a glowing magical light, signaling the start of their exploration into the unknown beneath the room. As they descend the stairwell, Jean notes that the path goes quite deep underground, while Milia admires the convenience of his light-intensity manipulation magic, intrigued by its usefulness in such a dark place. Jean comments that the atmosphere feels like a fantasy game setting where monsters could suddenly appear, prompting Milia to question the fantasy comparison with a hint of skepticism. Milia shifts the conversation back to Jin's earlier admission, asking if he already has a suspect in mind among the villains he's been fighting all this time, showing her eagerness to understand his strategy. Jean responds with a nervous smile, remarking that Milia is demanding a lot from him on their very first day, revealing his surprise at her directness and the pressure of the question. Jean cautiously agrees that there might be a suspect in mind, showing a moment of reluctant acceptance. The older man with fox-like ears suggests that Professor Rudman could be involved, raising suspicion about a trusted figure. When asked how he can tell, the older man explains that although Rudman appears calm when speaking, his true focus is elsewhere. He elaborates that this detachment is typical of those forced to act against their true intentions, noting Rudman is unusually guarded despite trying to hide it. As they descend deeper into the hidden stairwell, Milia admits she initially suspected Professor Gilda to be the suspicious figure, but Jean counters that Gilda wouldn't have been capable of pulling off such deception. Jean explains that Gilda's emotions are too transparent and genuine, lacking any double-faced nature, which suggests she is fundamentally a good person, leaving the older man with fox-like ears shocked by this assessment. With a calm resolve, Jean acknowledges the vastness of the space beneath the academy, preparing to explore further as the eerie underground chamber stretches out before them in silence. Milia expresses her surprise at the sheer size of the hidden area beneath the academy, while Jean remains alert, scanning their surroundings as they cautiously move forward into the unknown depths. Jean abruptly stops, sensing something unusual, and Milia anxiously asks if he has discovered anything significant. He, with a mix of shock and disbelief, admits he never expected to find what lies here in such a hidden place. He realizes they have uncovered a massive, ancient door leading to one of the secret research labs left behind by Kagura, hinting at a vast, mysterious network scattered worldwide.